Welcome, everybody. This is Battery Park City Committee of Community Board One. I'm Jeff Galloway, the chair of the committee. We have one of our co-chairs online, Justine Kucha, two other members online, and one other member here present so far, as well as any number of guests from the Battery Park City Authority. So this is a pretty much all Battery Park City Authority meeting tonight. After all, we are the Battery Park City Committee. And the first item on the agenda is a preview of the 2026 summer programming. And Craig Fudon.
Thank you.
You know, I see your name all the time and I never know how to pronounce it. Craig will give the presentation. Ready?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Just wanted to give a quick overview of our summer program and event guide, which we recently released. Some of you will be receiving that in the mail if you haven't already. This summer, we're featuring more than 600 free programs and events spanning historic events, arts and culture, health and wellness, and science and nature programming. We're going to move on to the months of May and June.
There you go. Oh. Let's press that big button.
Too far.
Yeah, give it a second. It's a little,
Slight delay, a couple seconds delay sometimes.
Okay, I gotta go back. Apologies. Okay. This Sunday, we're kicking off the return of the Battery Park City Farmers Market on River Terrace, aside the Irish Hunger Memorial. So River Terrace will be closed from Murray to North End Avenue on Sunday from 7 a.m. until approximately 4 p.m. We'll have our vendors coming in beginning at 7. Market hours start at 9 and go through 2 p.m. This will be happening each Sunday through November 22nd. And so we're excited for the return of the market. To celebrate the opening, we have a wonderful family music performance by Divinity Rocks at 11 a.m. on Sunday. On May 14th, we'll have our first in a series of films. Cinema 76 is the title of the series. They are featuring films set in 1976, the bicentennial. We're beginning with the movie Blowout, the Brian De Palma film from 1981. And we'll continue in June with the Richard Linklater film, Dazed and Confused. We're excited on Thursday, May 28th for a concert with the great Bhangra rock fusion band Red Bharat in Wagner Park. So please come join us at 6:30 on Thursday evening, the 28th. Heading into June, we'll have a new Pride concert featuring the artist Impress. Certain to be a enchanting evening in Wagner Park to kick off our Pride celebrations. Moving on to June 7th, this year we're beginning a series of Repair Fest, sort of fix-it workshops to coincide with the farmers market on Sundays. So we'll be able to help people mend their clothing, maybe fix some jewelry. We're going to have some great coaches there who specialize in different techniques. So and repairs. So we're excited we're going to have 3 of those throughout the season this year. Also, a significant event coming to the Americas, the FIFA World Cup, the World's Game will join us this summer. And we're going to have some watch parties. We're kicking off on June 12th, which is the first men's national team game. We'll be screening that in Wagner Park. And we're going to kick it off with a queer Big Apple, bless you, marching band as well. So it'll be a celebration in Wagner Park. On June 19th, the return of Juneteenth in Rockefeller Park. So we'll have the Federation of Black Cowboys will return, featuring pony rides. We'll have some dance clinics. A great day on Friday the 19th. Moving on to our Swedish Midsummer Festival on June 20th. Please Please note that it's a Saturday this year, first time ever, because Juneteenth is on Friday. We're moving this to Saturday. So we'll once again be partnering with the Swedish consulate here in New York with Swedish delicacies, dancing around the midsummer pole, traditional music, lots of great restaurant vendors. So please join us for Swedish Midsummer Festival. Followed by sort of marks the beginning of summer, Battery Park City Community Field Day in Rockefeller Park. We'll have classic field day games. We'll have lots of organizations from the community tabling at that event. A wonderful kickoff to summer as school ends on the 26th. Move into July. The 4th of July will be a big deal in all of New York City and the country. Celebrating the semi-quincentennial 250th birthday of America. Battery Park City will be a optimal viewing area for the International Parade of Sail, and along our waterfront esplanade and parks. That will be an all-day activity with the world's largest fleet of tall ships, of naval review. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the plans for the 4th of July, but it will be spectacular. So we're excited to be part of that. We're also excited to be partnering with our neighbors at the Battery for screenings of the round of 16 World Cup matches through the final in the Battery. So we're going to have activities around those matches, and we'll be screening those matches with our friends over at the Battery. The return of River and Blues is also our concert series resumes in July on Thursday evenings. We're going to kick it off with the Rebirth Brass Band, wonderful band from New Orleans. Grammy winners The Warren Treaty, followed by Alan Stone, and finally Amelia Day. One of our great partners, Battery Dance, will be celebrating America's 250th with a Moving Together program on Saturday, July 25th. In Wagner Park. That will be a spectacular event celebrating America's history. Also, with our partners at the Lower Manhattan sorry, I'm going to move on to August now. In the home stretch, with our partners at the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council, LMCC, we'll be presenting as part of the River to River Festival, Esperanza Spalding in concert in Wagner Park. Wonderful contemporary jazz artist. In August, also August 10th through 16th, marks the return of the 45th Annual Battery Dance Festival. Very excited to be working again with Battery Dance. And for the second year in a row, on August 28th, we'll be presenting a performance and workshop by the Ailey 2 Company, which was just an amazing opening event last August in Wagner Park, and we're excited for their return once again. Just quickly moving on, more than 40 programs per week, focusing on a few different buckets, I like to call them. In the arts and culture realm, we have things for all ages, including creative writing and book club and art classes for adults, craft circles, mahjong lessons and play, the Downtown Beats Chorus. In arts and culture, we also have lots of art programs for kids, a wonderful Wednesday and Thursday program in the northern end of Battery Park City, and plenty of preschool programs as well. So playing story time and tunes and tales, indie rock performances and preschool art. All of these are free and open to everyone. We want to see everybody in Battery Park City taking advantage of this programming. In the health and wellness realm, everything from meditation to pickleball for adults and seniors. Lots of sports programs for kids, both school age and preschool, and some all ages, sort of very family friendly sunset singing circles, drumming circles, and community dances. And finally, in the nature and science area, again, for adults and seniors, bird walks, nature walks, public art tours. For school-age children, we have lots of clubs, after-school clubs, gardening club, a makers club where they're taking recycle materials and building a wonderful creation that will be, that will live in the children's garden. We offer field trips for all age groups in the spring and the fall, fishing programs, sustainability themed field trips, lots to do there. And we have really young gardening programs called Young Sprouts for preschoolers and field trips for that age group as well. So we hope to see lots of people out at these great free weekly programs. Please help spread the word. We'd like to offer this to as many people as we can. So thank you for your time.
That's great. Go ahead, Joe.
First of all, awesome, great,
Thank you.
love it. 4th of July. Since you mentioned it, we all know the situation on the Esplanade right now. There's gonna be massive crowds. So, and I'm sure other people have questions about the 4th of July, not just me. Basically, you're talking about the wonderful viewing from the Esplanade, which I think is going to be very difficult. I don't know how you're going to manage crowds. So how are you going to manage crowds? And is there any special tickets or areas for the residents? Which I certainly hope you're going to say yes.
So those plans are still coming together. We're working with the Coast Guard, the Port Authority, the Navy, NYPD, all of these to coordinate kind of the festivities, the Sail Forth organization, to coordinate these events, you know, safely and successfully in Battery Park City. There's no plan for ticketing that time, and we haven't heard back on a final plan from, say, NYPD about, you know, if things are going to be, access is going to be limited or things like that. So those plans are still coming together.
Well, you are kind of advertising the Esplanade is the place to be. And if you don't have a plan for that, it looks to me.
Blocked off.
Well, that's what, yeah, I was saying, but if you're saying you don't even know if you're gonna allow people, but you're basically sending out a booklet saying the Esplanade's gonna have an incredible view, I think that there could be a situation.
No, I agree that more planning needs to be done, but certainly the Esplanade within Wagner Park and Rockefeller Park are going to be open and are going to be optimal viewing areas for people that want to see the tall ships, so.
Yeah, it's not like.
So that will be open, Wagner Park will be open, and Rockefeller Park, you know, will be open, and people will be able to access through those areas, is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
But the Esplanade you don't know about yet, is that what you're saying?
No, this one.
I can speak to, well, I can speak to it now or on my slides, but from West Thames to Albany, that'll be open as of the 4th of July. And from VC Street North,
Along the Esplanade,
along the South Esplanade from,
Mhm.
West, I'm
you
sorry,
said West Thames to.
to Albany.
Basically,
You
the
can
way
walk
that
down
it
by
is
the
now.
water
It's the
and-
way, the way that it is now,
Okay.
yeah.
So you
There'll
can
be
kind
access
of-
on
yeah.
West Thames, Rector, and Albany.
And through the
on
back
south.
of gateways, so.
And through Gateway, that's right.
If
But when
they
you-
keep it open.
Through the Meze adjacent entrances to the Esplanade.
Are
And
you,
the Esplanade itself is open up north and south
Yes.
along there. It's just the part by the North Cove that's blocked.
well, you can't
So you
get,
can't walk north from
Right.
Albany very
Okay.
far before
Okay.
it's blocked off.
Yeah.
And you can't walk south of West Thames because that's blocked off for South Cove.
what kind of security are you gonna have there? Because I think that if people try to get, it's a mess. I mean, with all due respect,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, there's blind corners, there's little teeny narrow walkways. I would be somewhat concerned if
Absolutely, and there's a lot of thought that's going into the planning of it, and we're still working on it, and we're still, you know, we haven't received final plans from NYPD or things like that about what they're intending to do around the neighborhood. That, you know, we certainly are in those conversations. There hasn't, a plan hasn't been released yet, so more to come, and we will keep you updated as the plans come together.
I'm gonna throw in just one sort of related thing.
Mhm.
I love all this programming, and one thing I was gonna suggest is having one of those shred your papers, get rid of your electronics things in Battery Park. I know they have them like twice a year on Fulton Street, but
It's a schlep with.
it's a schlep.
We did one in the fall, right?
We do one at the farmer's market, yeah, but
Oh,
it's a
you-
good idea.
yeah.
Yeah, we do one weekend for it, but it's a good idea to have something like that,
Yeah.
especially if you want to drop off things, so we
Yeah.
could totally look into that.
Awesome, thank you.
Justine, I see you have your hand up.
Thanks so much. complaining. I want to say thank you that my little grandbaby has been loving your singing in Rockefeller Park. I just get the most beautiful videos of her. I'm still hobbling around. So it is so fun and it's so wonderful. And so I'm glad that Taylor can take the baby out, which is lovely. The one thing I'm gonna ask about is, and I'm not sure if this has been brought to your attention yet, but I know the volleyball net and that whole area is closed down, so you've decided to put pickleball on the basketball courts. And the time you've decided to have it there, I think if I read the notes right, it's Mondays from something like 10 or 11 to 1. And there's been a request from some people in the neighborhood asking if you could do it not at the lunchtime or the recess time when the schools get out. So either doing it before 10 or before 11 or after like 1 o'clock for pickleball. And obviously before, doing a 2-hour shot or 3-hour shot before, during the school hours, but not during lunchtime. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, thanks for the feedback. This week was our first week of trying it there, so it's a bit of a pilot at this point.
Mhm.
The idea of doing it earlier than 10, it's a noise
Might be
thing
too
that we're
early,
concerned
yeah.
about. But let me talk to the team about it who was out there, and we can certainly take a look at that timing, and we'll work with, the schools to figure out a way, a solve for that. So we don't wanna keep anybody out that needs access to those. That's not the intent.
sense,
We're just
'cause
trying to.
You're trying to make more space open, and if it's unused when the kids are at school, because it's usually children or young adults, whatever, who are playing basketball, and
Okay.
and when they're off at lunch, or when I don't know what the schools are that come across the bridge, but they come kind of early in the morning, and they're out there in the morning. So your ambassadors or someone who's actually paying attention, which I did not do, I'm sorry, for the times when the kids are there. And then, of course, it becomes a little bit moot once school's out, but for the next few months. And that was kind of it. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thanks, Justine.
Thank you.
But following up on the pickleball, in years past, pickleball was on the volleyball court on Esplanade Plaza. Is there any suitable place to set up a volleyball court? That's open?
We really looked, honestly, trying to find all the nooks and crannies in Battery Park City that we could do that, and we haven't found a solution yet. And we would love to, but just we haven't. So we're going to continue to look and try to find. We know that there's a dedicated community of volleyball enthusiasts who use those, and we'd love to be able to accommodate. We haven't found the solve yet.
Is there enough space in Wagner Park in the hardscape area? I know it's often programmed with other things, but
I don't believe there's ample room for an actual court. But let's review and see if we can find another solution. But we have looked pretty comprehensively and unfortunately haven't found it yet. So we'll continue to do so.
again,
4th of July, I have a suggestion. Is it possible maybe for the Battery Park City Authority's offices to be open? That people could go to those windows and see the 12 ships without being in the crowd and the jostling? Which I'm thinking particularly of people who don't get around as well, or maybe little kids. I mean, it's nice to be outdoors, but like that could be an alternative to have a view that would be pretty safe.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah, we can get back to you on
You
that.
have to clean your desks first.
It's a good excuse to do so.
And then my other question, I've received the book and I've studied it and entered my calendar. I missed the beginning of your presentation, but are there any activities scheduled for the pavilion in Wagner?
So there will be people renting that and using that facility, not necessarily renting it like per cost, but just we're managing it through a permitting system. So there will be a lot of sort of one-off events. We will be doing some sort of indoor, outdoor programming within there. The Skyscraper Museum has some concerts scheduled in there. So it will be activated. There's not a lot in this booklet specifically
Right,
for the
right.
classroom, but it will be an active place throughout the season.
Here's a specific question, because the last few summers, daytime fitness, which includes senior fitness programming, at Asphalt Green gets booted out because of summer camp during the daytime. And some classes have been in Six River Terrace. But one thing that I'm hearing from the actual class teacher, not from the management, is that there's no place to have chair yoga for older adults. And that would be a shame to have it disappear for a couple of months.
Sure.
So maybe I thought that we go. for
Yeah,
space,
let's-
The classroom
put some folding
seems
chairs.
like that
And
would
that's
be the
something that,
purpose.
Yeah.
that Asphalt Green currently manages? Like they run the chair
We can
yoga?
Work with you guys.
Correct,
to
so.
get alternate space. Yeah, they do the chair yoga on Fridays, right?
Okay, so we are working with Asphalt Green to move some of those programs into Six River Terrace again. Can certainly have a conversation about,
Okay.
if it's not planned, I'm not sure if that specific program is planned for Six River. If it is not, we can explore other opportunities.
What I'm saying is the instructor said there's no class after.
Okay.
Whenever. And I don't know, I've tried to get answers from Asphalt Green people, like who, did they request, I think they requested it but didn't get the space. That's what I've gathered. It's possible they didn't even request it. So I don't know, I think actually it's you that they were working with to find space.
So is my team, I don't know specifically
Okay.
that
And
program.
I just want to say it's really important.
Okay, great.
Because if people are maintaining themselves, you
So-
can go downhill fast if you.
So let's try and find a spot for it, yeah.
Things.
Yeah, can I just follow up, because I'm a little surprised that the classroom is this, which is the public space for the benefit of people, is only on a permit to outside whatever businesses. Will these concerts and events that have been permitted, which I could assume you get a fee for, are these open for free to the public?
Not, so there's a few different questions there. So there is a fee system for managing that space. We don't always charge a fee. It depends if something's local, it's benefiting the community, that's open to everyone, then we can certainly waive that fee to run that program. A lot of our programs that Battery Park City Authority produces will be using that space as sort of an indoor and outdoor, or moving something in when the weather's inclement, or
Might go indoors. if it's
or-
bad.
correct.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked.
Or like a marine
Don't
education
say.
program, we'll start there and then move out into the park. So that's what we'll be doing this spring. We've already run a series of public programs over the last month in that space, and we'll continue to do so.
So anyway, to answer my question, will there does not seem to be any programming, as you said, over the summer in that public space. That is not, but there will be private events only? Is that what you're
That's the
saying?
Plan right now.
This
That's
would
what
be
he said.
quite disturbing to hear.
This is the,
It's,
this caught my eye as well, because it makes it look like, here's this great space, come rent it, have a wedding here, have a big event here, blah, blah, blah.
This is supposed to be a public
But it didn't
space
come across.
for the benefit of,
Majority of programming overall, regular programming in the summer is outdoors.
yeah.
The space is available for people to rent. So think of it as your mom and I, like Six River Terrace.
Can be rented.
Space can be rented.
200 director can be
Yeah,
rented,
the difference
but
between
they don't
renter-
come across.
Yeah.
This is,
Uh,
but yeah,
The difference between
these
renter-
concerts, these summer just to answer my specific
Yeah.
question. Is this, for instance, the museum concert, is that open to the public for free?
Everything in the book is free and open to the public.
No, is that, it's not in the book. You're saying these are people who receive
so
permits.
we partner with the Skyscraper Museum with a number of programs. And they are using this space for a couple of their public free programs.
Okay, so
concerts,
that
yeah.
answers that question, but just moving on. How many other uses this summer? I mean, it is incredibly disturbing to hear that Asphalt Green has been reached out to your team and told there's no space for senior yoga when we have
Oh, we
this,
actually don't.
I don't know
but
that
we
that's
don't
the
know
case.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I would think that it seems a great loss that this,
Like all of these get rented. But we know
Yeah.
these are also available for a lot of activities.
Yeah.
We're just not, we haven't seen this,
We haven't-
really, the doors flung open.
Just
But
came on.
could be.
Yeah.
Right.
Online in your,
No, no, no.
No,
okay.
not the
Month
flag.
well, you're right, never mind.
All right,
Just
All right.
opened up, guys.
Take that.
flagging this for future discussion.
I can't, do we have the other hands
You
raised?
mentioned the farmer's market.
Correct.
There's something that people in the community have been asking for that maybe could be done at the farmer's market. And that is get a knife sharpener to come.
Interesting.
There used to be a guy who came and he parked in the end of South Cove and
That's a great idea.
here or there, and he put signs up a few days ahead, paper. And he has, there's the 3 names of different guys who came that people gathered. And they have not been back because there's no parking. It's impossible, ever, even since the South, when Wagner started. So we haven't had this service in the neighborhood, which people really need.
So our
So-
market manager is Down to Earth Markets, and there is a portal.
Here's the thing though. I heard about the portal last year and I passed that on to the neighborhood people who were most
Yeah,
interested.
that's-
I was kind of, but I don't know if anybody, I want to say that I think that's, these people should come for free because it's a service to the community and the community is going through a lot and it would be just a little kindness to say, let's get the knife sharpener in a couple times. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Is the
it'd be
process-
great if you guys could reach out and, you know, the community's
Right.
input is, they would like to see
Right.
this service.
Because
We have a
this-
couple of
So,
hands
so
up.
can I just interrupt, Jeff? I want to let you know, you've got Tammy's hand raised and Robin as an attendee, also have hand raised. Thank
I
you.
was about to call on, I was about to call on them. Justin. Tammy, you go next.
Hi, thanks so much. Super excited to see the World Cup game in Wagner and the partnership with the Battery. So that's kind of an interesting new thing. Thank you for thinking outside the box on that kind of stuff as a way, should be interesting. I have a question about unused space. So currently, couldn't we set up a volleyball court if looking around the north side at all of the marina? Is there a space over there? Or even the fact that we were told that the construction area wouldn't use the closed off part of North End Avenue at all, but there could be space to put a volleyball court there from potentially the end of wherever the parking garage is and the dead end. I mean, I'm looking at space that's supposed to be potentially open and usable that we could relocate some of the really needed assets. No one's going to complain if we stuck it there, right? For a volleyball court, because there's no residence. You could play anytime you want. Obviously, you've got the issue with the cars there, but I mean, I can't imagine one car which comes from the security gate people aren't going to see. And you couldn't put up a small little barricade at the end of the driveway. Has anything over there been considered for a volleyball court?
Tammy, is this the southern nub of North End Avenue between
Yep.
300 BC and NYMEX?
Yep.
Okay, I know that's one of your favorite bugaboos of all time.
Well, it is a bugaboo because it's a privatized public street. So as long as it's private now, let's get a public use on it.
Let us go back and talk to Brookfield. It's not us making the decision alone, but I can relay the fact that the request has come into us.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I'll just also share on that point, North End Avenue is one of the access points for construction vehicles coming into the site. So that might be difficult, not only with the Northwest project, but also Brookfield is creating a bridge between 300 and 250 BC. And there'll be some construction with regard to that as well.
So we asked the construction people if they were using that and they said no. It was a question that I asked very specifically because we wanted them not to, we wanted to help them find better pathways to improve the public realm. And since that was a closed street, we thought that would be an ideal opportunity. And Turner specifically told us no. So I'm curious to hear that they're doing that. That's not known to us. I'm also super
Well, it's
curious
possible
that
I-
Brookfield's.
possible I have imperfect information, so let me check back on that.
That'd be great. It's also really curious to hear that they're building a connection between those two buildings. We've not heard anything about that. Do you think you could have Brookfield be in touch with Zach and the team? And we'd love to hear more about that. How high, what floor, how does this impact the public street, if at all? You know, what kind of environmental studies have been done with it, how it works with all the construction and everything else that's going around. That's brand new information I know has not been necessarily brought to us.
Happy to have Brookfield be in touch with you, Tammy. I'll connect Zach accordingly.
Awesome.
Great.
Is that it, Tammy?
You know, I have two more, but I'd rather have people from the public go, so let's let them go.
Okay, so it looks like, let's see.
Robin.
Robin, go ahead. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Robin, can you hear us? She put her hand down.
Okay, Betty.
Hi, thank you. I want to speak in defense of not putting a lot of things at the end of North End Avenue. As somebody from the north, and I think you need to hear from more residents in the north, we come and go that way into Brookfield all the time. The thought of having volleyball activity in there is just one more chaotic thing in the way of all the other things that we always have to navigate to get around that area. So I just caution that be looked at very carefully and consider the people in the north, not the south, because they use that area very differently than I think the people in the south do.
Thank you, Betty. And looks like we're back to you, Tammy.
So I'd love to, pursuant to wherever that is, can you give more information on when exactly the pathways, will there always be a pathway open around the back of Brookfield that gets to North End and to the ferry around the marina, that outside area will always have a pathway?
I'll speak to this more in my slides, but we're currently figuring out when exactly that needs to be closed. But no, at some point, there will not be exterior egress on the west side of Brookfield around North Cove. That'll have to be closed at some point for construction.
On the west side of Brookfield, we all done?
Currently, there's an exterior
Yeah.
egress around there. At some point, that needs to close.
So going from
egress will go
south
inside.
neighborhood to north neighborhood, you've got to go along West Street.
Or
No, you could walk through the
Or
middle.
inside.
Side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know when that'll be?
I have more detail. I have more details to share with.
How long will that be? Because I just read.
Well, let's go, I mean, yeah, we're starting to ask questions that are
Yeah.
actually in there.
Okay.
All right, so I'll go back to my programming question. All right, I got you, Jeff. I'll finish my programming question. I wanted to thank Justine for speaking up about the hours and the recognition of how the programming and the new location changes are impacting the kids in the neighborhood, because we have heard it from a couple different, not only the local schools, but from teenagers on the other side as well, from just local community of the broader Lower Manhattan. So thank you, Justine, on that. We've also heard a lot on programming about the ability to utilize that space, the classroom space, for free public programming in any way, shape, or form that would be really highly valued, and especially if it's unsold. Which puts me back to one of the questions I was going to ask Craig is, if River Terrace is unsold, right, how is, how can, like, for example, things like Chair Yoga go inside that space? And lastly, I don't know if Craig remembers, but I know damn well Nick does. Asphalt Green has a requirement to provide free access to some meeting spaces for local events and nonprofits. So I'm confused if they don't have the space inside for chair yoga. That is an agreement with the Battery Park City Authority for their space and their lease and everything that goes with it. Then I would hope, and I don't know if Craig is the right person or Nick or Nydia, which one of the three of you would be the one responsible to make sure that the public programming is able to be somewhere? Like, who do we follow up with? Is it Craig? Is it Nydia? Is it Nick?
You can follow up with me, Tammy, that's fine.
Or me.
Yeah.
We work through a permit system to give Asphalt Green that space in 6 River Terrace. And the only reason it's not available is if we are running our own programming in that space. So, because we can't run them simultaneously. So that's the only reason for conflict, during that July and August timeframe in 6 River Terrace. But, as I said earlier, we'll look into if we need to find a place for chair yoga. I'm confident that we can do that, but I'll have that conversation with Asphalt Green.
May I ask what's running July and August in 6 River Terrace?
It's in the booklet. We often save it as, excuse me, if we're doing a senior fitness class and it's 85 or 90 degrees, then we would move it indoors at 6 River Terrace, or a Zumba class, or it's those programs that we like to do outside, but oftentimes, particularly in July and August, it can be a little warm to do them. So depending upon, the population of that program, we will oftentimes either find a shady spot in the park or move it indoors to 6 River Terrace.
And would that be the same for programming then in the south area that would be able to move into the classroom?
Yeah, depending upon the program, and if it's safe and something that we can do in the classroom, then yes, we would be utilizing that space for sure.
Fantastic. All right. And I guess I would echo for the July 4th, July planning. I know this isn't you necessarily, Craig, but looking to find opportunities for the public to be able to view the water from the land in anywhere in Battery Park City, whether there were viewing spots that could be cleared and opened, especially because construction's not on the weekends. I think that would help the businesses in the area. It would certainly make the community feel a little bit of breath of fresh air to be able to get to the Esplanade. The work not being done on the weekends means we don't have environmental impact issues. It's just a matter of moving fencing. So I put that along with the other requests. And I'm sure when we get to the South Battery Park City aspect, I'll ask my other questions about fences. Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy. I think the suggestion on 4th of July that she's making there is a good one. I don't know what's going to be going on construction-wise at Esplanade Plaza, but, as we can all see right now, not an awful lot is going on there. I assume it's closed for a good reason. But to the extent that there is an area of Esplanade Plaza that is safe to traverse, and it's just a matter of putting temporary fencing in a different place, that might be a good relief valve, because we know in the best of circumstances, the waterfront is going to be very, very crowded that weekend. So, okay.
So it's a good flag generally. It occurs to me, Jeff, not to commit definitely yet, but I think it may make sense at the June BPC meeting, I guess it's June 4th, unless the date changes. We will likely at that time, I should hope we'll have some more clarity from the DOD and NYPD and some other folks about what's going on security wise for the South Ward especially. But I think that would be the time to share with the community. Hopefully we'll have some more detail then, but whatever we have at that point, we'll be able to share.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is a good solution, even if you have to move trucks for this very special occasion, considering what's gonna be like down there, it may be worth visiting, saying, you don't wanna move the trucks normally because they have to start up again on Monday, but in this situation, it may be special enough.
A lot of coordination will be done, so we'll take that back.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next item. And let me just give a brief introduction.
And we're gonna cut Craig.
Okay, Craig, thank you very much. You can leave.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and your the
Thank you,
program.
Craig.
Hope to see you out there.
Yes.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
So as certainly the committee members will know, and many of the people that are attending from the public will know, the resiliency work on the Northwest Project began recently. We've held a ton of meetings over the last 2 or 3 years on the project, but now it's starting. And And although during the previous years, we've been given broad outlines of what to expect during construction, it's addressed in a fair amount of detail in the environmental impact statement, including sequencing and timing. As we all know, once a project starts, schedules can change, sequencing can change. And so what we've asked Dan and the project team to do is to come to us periodically and give us basically a 6-month look ahead. And, you know, it's one thing to read the EIS and see A, B, and C, and D are going to happen at some point in the future. It's another thing to look out your window and see what's going on. And we understand that looking further than 6 months ahead, it's hard to predict exactly what's going to happen when, but we think that a 6-month interval is something that you can predict pretty well what we should expect. So we expect to have Dan and or his colleagues to come back basically on periodic intervals, maybe roughly around 6 months, to tell us again what to expect in the next 6 months. And we'd like you all to also let us know if there are unexpected changes in the schedule and sequencing. So that if, you know, let's say in July, all of a sudden you find out what I told you in May is, you know, grossly inaccurate based on whatever has happened in the field, please let us know and come back and let us know what to expect. So with that as kind of an introduction, Dan, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, thank you very much. So for those who I've not met before, my name is Dan Dixon. I'm Senior Director of Design Management at BPCA. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come give you an update. And Jeff, thanks for table setting a little bit. You know, as everyone's aware, you know, construction schedules are set with good intentions, and some things can be compressed and some things expand based on numerous factors. So I appreciate that understanding as we dive in here. This slide is really just for reference in case we want to talk about a specific area, but I'm sure you've all seen this before. You can see this is the alignment in the dark pink color of the flood wall. You can see the dashed line to the left where we're going to tie into the south project and make one connected network. And this slide, I'm sure if you've been paying attention, you've seen several times as well, but I think it's worth dwelling here just on a few points. You know, so obviously we're trying to limit disruption throughout this project, but on a project of this size and scale, that is difficult. The way that we're doing it is by sequencing it so that the most vulnerable areas and the most construction complex areas are starting first. So that's, I'll speak to it in a few slides, but that's why we've started with South Cove, which will connect to the South project. It's also one of the most vulnerable areas. And Reach 5, the North Cove Marina, is one of the most complex from a construction perspective. So that's also why that's starting soonest. We're very happy to be starting this project after Wagner Park has reopened, as we promised. And throughout construction, there will be meaningful open spaces throughout construction, such as Wagner Park, Teardrop Park, Rockefeller Park, Rector Park, West Thames, etc. We recognize that the Esplanade is a beloved asset, and we wish that we could keep it open as much as a lot of residents, but sadly, some of it needs to be taken in phases. And then lastly, as we are tonight, we want to communicate consistently with you. As Jeff pointed out, we're happy to give frequent updates, and things change and shift, and we'll try to communicate that the best we can. Okay, so just to refresh everyone's memory, so the areas listed on the top left are what we call site readiness work. That's actually ongoing. It's kind of overlapping with overall construction of the site work. Sorry, did I do that? Sorry.
No, that was
Okay. Oh, sorry. How do I go back?
there you go.
Thank you. So some of that is overlapping, but a lot of that will be wrapping up this year. So I'll talk to that. And then the areas highlighted in green are either happening currently or will happen very soon. So I'll speak to that as well. Two things that I wanted to point out. We have third quarter 2026 for both Reach 1, which is the area that crosses West Street and goes up to North Moore, and North Esplanade, which is north of Stuyvesant. Those are dependent on some logistics and permitting falling into place, so that's still our best estimate. But we'll be giving you updates as we have them. It might be the next update that we come to you with. Okay, so these areas highlighted here are either ongoing work or to be started very soon. For example, the VC Street tie gate work that you can see at the end of VC will be beginning next month. The other areas are a combination of flood barrier construction and site readiness work that I'll speak to in the next few slides. So starting with the flood barrier system construction, as I mentioned, we're currently mobilized in two areas. One is South Cove, basically from First Place up that touches the south part of Regatta. This area is expected to be under construction through the third quarter of 2028. Currently, you'll see that construction fencing has been installed. Access to the Esplanade is still available on West Place going south to Wagner and from West Thames going north to Albany. But Second Place, Third Place, and the end of South End Avenue is going to be closed throughout construction. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be experiencing surface demolition, erosion control, material salvage, which includes benches, lights, granite, pergola, items that we identified before construction started to save, as well as soil sampling to make sure that none of the soil is contaminated. North Cove Marina, I'll speak to this in a couple different facets because there's also site readiness happening here. But one thing to highlight is that, to your question, Jill, or I think it was someone on the phone as well, but access around Brookfield, I want to talk to. So currently, if you've been there, you can currently walk around the exterior of Brookfield on the west side, all the way around from Belvedere Plaza, all the way through down to South End Avenue. Throughout May, the idea is to expand that capture area. You can see in this photo, there's some tree protection happening on the south side of 225 VC in front of PJ Clark's. So we're protecting that bosque of trees as well as the similar bosque of trees on the east side in front of the district in anticipation of construction fencing expanding. So at the end of May, there will still be egress all the way around that exterior of that space. The current plan that the construction team has proposed is that sometime during June, the area right outside of the Winter Garden will be closed. So there won't be continuous outside egress around that entire thing. We recognize that July 4th is going to be a major event with a lot of big crowds. So we're working with them to see if we can at least maintain that exterior egress through the July 4th holiday. So we'll provide an update when that's available. Other things to highlight here. So not only on the north and east of North Cove, but also you might have noticed, as Jeff pointed out, that the areas north and to the northwest of Gateway Plaza are currently being mobilized. What that entails is tree protection and removals. I have some specifics if we want to talk about tree counts. 22 trees as of next week are slated for coming down outside of the privacy fence. There are also 15 trees within the privacy wall that we're working with LaFrac on timing as to when those come down. But typically, when construction is mobilized, trees, unfortunately, are one of the first steps for construction.
When you say privacy wall, what exactly is the privacy wall?
The wall between Gateway and the rest of the world.
So like when you're in the backyard,
Yes.
it's that
Right.
wall.
Right, the area the wall that separates the north lawn from the Esplanade.
So
Is that
are
going
you-
to be the resiliency wall right there?
No, that'll be taken down and the flood barrier system will take its place.
Yeah,
So-
that's what you're saying.
Yeah, it'll be along that stretch, that's right.
The trees are the ones in front of the wall or they're on the north lawn?
Both.
So on the exterior of Gateway, on the exterior of the privacy wall,
Yeah.
both to the north and to the west of that corner,
Yeah,
there are 22 identified to come down soon. There's also 15 just inside the privacy wall
Yeah.
that we're working with LaFrac on timing.
So those are good. So when is the North Lawn gonna be closed to the public?
That is up to LaFrac. We're still working with them on construction phasing. And actually, we have slight update, that's actually currently in the field from when we met with Gateway last, because as of
Yes.
the last meeting that we spoke with Gateway, we were talking about phasing for 6A North, 6A South, which are on Esplanade, and also 5E West, which is Esplanade Plaza. There's been a little bit more of 6A North combined with 5E West as part of the current capture. If that makes any sense.
No, not at all.
No, but you know where the wall is.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
that's,
Basically, north of Gateway and a little bit of the west frontage is currently captured.
Yeah.
The
We're
rest of the
expanding
area,
that.
the rest of the area west of Gateway won't be captured until the fall, is the current plan.
So where the fence is now, which is right above where Meze is accessible from Esplanade?
Yes.
That fence will stay there until the fall.
That's right.
Okay.
let's try to hold we've got
Yeah,
some
yeah.
that are starting to pop up online as well. So
Okay,
people
great.
online, we're holding questions until Dan finishes,
Okay.
and then we'll go back to questions.
The other thing I wanted to highlight here is that Kowski Playground, Serious Dog Run, and the Police Memorial, except for NYPD access as needed, will be closed through construction. There's also, not to make it even more complex, there's also Port Authority work happening in that area, on the south side of North Cove. So, and that schedule has bled a little bit further into the future. So we're working with them on when that area might be available. Currently, we're messaging that those areas will have to be shut down throughout construction, but we're trying to work with Port Authority and the construction team to potentially open some of those areas up in the coming years.
Dan, can I ask before you go on, because I'm frustrated. We shared the Port Authority timeline that they gave us last year. We had long conversations about this, not only with Turner Construction, who was in the room when they presented, but also with the Battery Park City Authority. And this started definitely 2 years ago in 24, updated in 25. Every single solitary conversation was, we should be able to work with Turner and figure out a way to have access. This is beyond just a simple construction thing, right? It's about health and safety, it's about redirecting all the dogs, and it's about having a place for the community. I'm a little confused as to how dramatically the timeline could have possibly changed from the Port Authority presentation that we had last year, where the Battery Park City Authority said they could expect to work with it and provide, some kind of a pathway to be able to keep it open, to where we are today. And I won't even go into the 4 days worth of notice on it being, by the way, closed for several years, which was nigh impossible to have a community notified. So I'm confused because from what we know from when the Port Authority came to us, their timeline was pretty straightforward. And we had these conversations. So can you explain how we got here? I'm frustrated because
I'm
there's
not
no
sure.
consideration.
Yeah, I understand the frustration. I'm not sure I was in a specific meeting, so I'm not sure what their timeline was as of that meeting. My current understanding is that it will run through the early part of 2028. So I'm not sure if that aligns with the schedule they gave at that point.
Well, Tammy, you may know this, but we did invite, and I think they've accepted, Port Authority will be coming to our June meeting where we will explore that timeline directly with them.
Okay.
As well as explore how much they need to continue to capture as they finish their work. We'll talk a little bit more about that subject once you're done. So once you're
Okay,
finished.
great, yeah. Okay, so moving through some of the current site readiness work that's going on. Albany Street, the tide gate installation is the furthest along. We're expected to finish this sometime midsummer. Piles have been installed, so no more of the noisiest work. Currently, rebar is being installed, as you can see in the picture, and we're readying the tide gate for a concrete pour in the next few weeks. Going back to North Cove Marina, just for the site readiness work, utility relocation is ongoing. you can see they're actually patching up some of the trench that they had to dig up already. So that work is moving along. We expect that to be done this summer as well to pave the way for, excuse the pun, to pave the way for the rest of the construction work. Thank you. Moving on to Chambers Street, we've had to work with Con Ed on the creation of some electrical ducts here, which has been a challenge, but currently we're still expecting to finish in this stretch late summer 2026. Currently fencing is installed and surface demolition has been performed, as you can see in this picture. This picture actually shows the excavation of that electrical trench. Other portions of this project include laying a new water main and pouring new concrete electrical ducts. Moving on to Stuyvesant Plaza. So this is some complicated work as well that involves some night work as dictated by DOT. We're expecting this to finish early 2027. This is complicated because it involves the installation of a 20-inch DEP water pipe, as well as the installation of electrical conduit and the installation of a duct bank. So, and working with limited hours at night. So this is very complicated work, but we're making progress here. Rector Place, mobilization happened fairly recently here. The area has been captured so far. Sound mitigation is ongoing. Installation of the temporary sidewalk, as you can see on that south side, has been installed. In the next coming weeks, you'll witness some excavation and subsurface confirmation of subsurface conditions, as well as electrical demolition and moving or installing a new FDNY call box. And VC Place, the only tie gate installation that hasn't begun in earnest between 300 VC and the memorial, the Irish Hunger Memorial, is expected to start next month. So just to remind everyone, I know this is a frequent topic that people are interested in. So I wish that I could provide an update on when the air monitoring reports will be available. I still don't have clarity on that. Hopefully soon, and we'll get you those updates when they come available. But just to remind you, who is our third-party independent air monitoring party is Excel Environmental Resources. They came recommended by CB1, in fact, and just to remind people that we are monitoring air quality at a more minute scale than actually the rest of the city requires. And I know that they've come and presented to CB1 before, so you might have already been familiar with their work. And I'll just pass it to Nick to talk about community outreach.
Okay, thanks, Dan and Jeff and members of the committee. So we just ticked off a couple of the recent public engagements we've done, notwithstanding this evening, and ones that we have coming up. So we were at the Gateway Tenants Association, I guess it was the week before last, with an update. As Dan had noted, some things have actually shifted in the schedule since then, but nonetheless, we provide the most updated information as we have with the understanding that sometimes these timelines will shift based on some of the realities on, or it turns out, in the ground. We did a virtual info session, fairly well attended on March 11th. The materials from that and the Gateway Tenants Association is all on our site. So it's the presentations, the recordings, and follow-up questions and answers. Construction Advisory Committee meets on a semi-monthly basis. That means our elected officials and local interests, community representatives, including Jeff, Tammy, and Justine, and some others as well. That's next Friday, May 15th at 3. And then kind of as a parallel project, not directly related to the ongoing resiliency work, but as a result thereof, there will be some additional opportunities for kind of street end designs and improvements at the ends of Albany Street and Albany Place, Albany Street and Rector Place. Again, this is kind of a longer lead item. So once the construction wraps up in the latter part of 2030-ish, 2031, we'll have some additional opportunities at Albany and Rector to get some additional feedback. I know it's something that the community and the community board especially has expressed some interest in. We did a part 1 of that session, which is linked on this slide in February, and then part 2. I know Jeff was able to attend the second one, which was design options, our third Final option, final session for now is May 20th. That's Wednesday the 20th at 200 Rector. And then we'll be at the Hudson River Park Advisory Council in June. We do that each year for the past 3 or 4 years. Talking about some of the areas in the northern edge of the project in the river between North Esplanade and Pier 25 as it relates to the Hudson River Park area. And then ongoing, just to take these down, most folks who have been following have a pretty good sense of it. But we have the bi-weekly construction newsletters. Our CCL, Mark Ryan, is here. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. The QR code is there on the right. We have drop-in sessions twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. No program on Friday the 19th for Juneteenth. We have a dedicated project website, materials on our programming. We have the project bike that Mike drives around and meets people, gets information, adds them to the list, and provides data and updates as he has them. Flyers and buildings, we've done a series of direct mailings, neck postcards I think are coming soon. We wanted to focus specifically on some of the southern stretch buildings, so Gateway Plaza and some of the buildings along Route 7. And then obviously here at Board 1, both through regular BPC committee updates monthly, more detailed deep dives on a semi-regular basis of the sort we're having right now. And then we have LMC quarterly updates with the larger LMCR team, which involves the projects going around along the entire stretch of Lower Manhattan from here all the way up through Montgomery Street, Brooklyn Bridge, and the East Side Coastal Residency Project. So with that, I know there are going to be some questions, but we wanted to thank everybody.
Okay, we're gonna have a number of questions. I want to start it off myself. First of all, shifting hats slightly to Gateway Tenants Association. I know you all have been very responsive to questions that Mark Liebman from the Tenants Association has been peppering you with. And I just want to thank you for your responsiveness. I'm sure Mark appreciates it.
Thank you.
It's been important. And Michael as well. Thank you for that. I want to talk about Kowski Plaza first. I have some pictures here so that will help ask my questions and hopefully get some answers. So if you could throw up that first one that has the 3 panels. Okay, so what you're looking at here is.
I'm sharing. Give me 1 second.
Okay. So, I'll point here so that you know what I'm asking about. So this is an aerial view here on the left-hand side. So people who are online, I'm pointing to the left-hand panel. An aerial view of the dog run is up towards the top. And there are some trees here and some greenery that are basically on Kowski Plaza. Police memorials to the right. The next 2 panels are ground view photos of the same green area. And I went out there before the meeting, and this is accessible now. You can just walk, right up to here without crossing any construction lines or any barriers at all. Jill knows exactly what I'm talking about. And so we wanted to explore this green area here is basically a path that a person can walk today, although they'll be walking over some shrubs. But for the shrubs, this is an accessible pedestrian path to the dog run that is not in any construction zone, not even in the Port Authority's construction zone. So my question, series of questions, but the basic question is, have you explored basically opening that access route to the dog runs? Recognizing there may be construction all around, but at least to the untutored eyeball, it doesn't appear to be a dangerous spot, hazardous spot. So let me just pause. So Dan, have you looked at it?
So just overall, I was under the impression that access via Liberty Street was closed off. So I'm a little surprised that you were able to,
This is from Kowski Plaza itself, so.
oh, from Kowski
Because
Plaza.
Kowski is open to the Berlin Wall piece.
Okay, so coming from the north side of Gateway.
Yeah, you can come from the north side of it, you can come through Gateway to get there, you can come from Liberty Street to
Got
get
it,
there. So,
got it, okay.
so Kowski Plaza, if you walk by there tomorrow when you're in the office or whatever, you can walk and see for yourself.
I think I understand what
Yeah,
the area you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
My direction is that Kowski Plaza and the dog run are gonna be closed throughout construction, but I can take this back as a potential, access point.
Because I believe this portion of Kowski Plaza is likely to be open, well, it's certainly open now. And I don't, at some point, when the flood wall has to traverse Kowski Plaza, presumably it will close. But that's probably not until 2029 or something. I don't know the sequence.
It is a bit in the future, I know.
Right.
I'll have to look I'll have to familiarize myself with Port Authority's area as
Yeah.
well as when that northern facade of Gateway will have to be shut, as well as this potential access point. So let me take this back.
Yeah, let me just show you one more picture that I took tonight.
That was a path, by the way,
Mhm.
before,
Oh, was it?
or right next to it. Yeah,
Right.
and we all
First one, two.
walked, trudged through there.
I see.
Okay,
And there's a gate already to the dog run, just so you know, because it was
Right.
so you don't need to add anything to the dog run.
And I'll just ask, you know, June of 25 was when the port presented to us and told us that the pathway over here would remain open. So, yep,
so up to the
and we're happy
show.
to share that with you if you need it.
I'm showing another photo momentarily.
Well, you said that, I would just want to add
Okay,
that for the community and the people who use these spaces and the sense of community that you have, and this whole sense of community and space being taken away is really kind of devastating. So to the extent that you could also think of the effect on the human beings who live there, who count on this, who include this as part of their lives, that would, I hope, figure into how you look at this.
well, circling back to principle number one on that first slide that you showed us, minimize the disruption. So this is the photo I took tonight on the way over here. So I'm standing, you know, that's one of your electrical buildings
Right.
there. So,
And is this the north side of that?
this is.
I'm sorry, the west side of that?
This is the east side of that.
East side of that.
This is, if I'm looking at it from here, South End Avenue is to my back.
Got it. So we're looking west.
You're on the Liberty.
You're looking west.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes, so I'm not on the Liberty Extension, I'm on Kowski Plaza,
Up
I'm on the
above.
upper,
Yes.
anybody can walk,
Yeah,
I'm
next to
I
the-
wasn't doing some access, anybody can.
The flags are next to the,
Flags are lower and they're the policemen.
Yeah, this, the stairwell will be just to my right.
Right, the flag's on a different level.
Yeah, so, so it's, and then, can you show just the next photo, I know it's a roll too.
Next.
I emailed two photos with this one, this is one of two.
so the path is west of the westmost electrical building.
Yeah, just past that electrical,
Closest to the river.
yeah, and closer to Camp Stephen.
All right, I think I understand.
Yes,
So
yes.
serious.
Yeah.
I know you're serious.
Show one. Okay, and this I took this evening as well, so that's, I walked through that little path. And you've got this whole, this is the Port Authority work here, so you don't,
Got it.
I mean, if they were to move this, it would make it even easier, but as long as you don't mind walking over some flowers or actually getting rid of the flowers so that it becomes I mean, after all, everything else is in construction around it, so it's not as if this is a wonderful landscaped.
No one can get there to water or take care of them anyway.
But then it opens up right to an open spot for the gate. It's, you know, nothing, it's really just a matter of clearing a little bit of vegetation in that spot. So if you could look at that, I mean, I'm happy to walk you over there, but you can
Yeah.
access it yourself.
I
and see
think I
what we're talking
understand
about.
the location and the ask, so I'll bring that back to the team.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you, Jeff.
okay, Rami,
Yeah, can you hear me?
yes.
Hi, Jeff. Yeah, I do want to just note, my understanding is that this is less of an access question for the dog run, but that the dog run is being used as part of staging and as part of the work that's happening in other places. So I do hear what you're saying, and if it weren't, then this is, I get the ask. My understanding from the project team is that it's the dog run is being used as part of the staging.
Which
I
team?
guess what I would like to sort of modify the ask a little bit, I suspect that the staging decision may have been made in the belief that it would otherwise be inaccessible for any other public use.
Yeah.
And yes, why not take advantage of it if it's available? But to the extent that it is not a critical piece of staging, I think the ask would be to try to adjust the staging, which may dovetail into my next question. And I noticed that in the playground area, tree protection is being put up. So is the question was going to be, is there going to be construction in the playground, or is that just anticipating staging in that playground area?
I'll have to get back to you about that because up until fairly recently, as you know, we were anticipating the dog run and the playground to be open. So I don't think there's going to be construction necessarily. To Rami's point, there might be staging. So I'll have to get back to you about exactly the limits of that.
Yeah, so to the extent that you can, if you could put in a request to Turner not to use it as staging until the decision is made on accessibility. I hate it to become facts on the ground that, oh, you know, you said it was available, now we've relied on it and whatever, but as near as I can tell right now, it's not being used. This moment, it's not being used for anything, but I don't know what their plans are for next week or the week thereafter. It would be, I mean, to Jill's point, even though one might think that no one in the right mind would want to be recreating in the middle of all construction, there are not very many places where you can walk your dog and recreate your dog. And this one is well used. It's right next to the largest residential complex in Battery Park City. So it is an important community amenity, and it's not like having little kids in the playground where parents may very well not want their little kids next to a construction site. Dog owners are a hardy bunch. Right. So, okay, so that's my discussion there. Sarah, you had a question?
Yeah, I did, going all the way back to Vesey Street. The duck pond,
Yes,
is that going to remain?
yes, that'll be open throughout construction.
Okay, so that section right between the duck pond and the memorial,
Yes.
you're not touching that?
No, there will be flood barrier system construction that happens between the pond and the memorial.
How far towards the water does that go?
The kind of low wall along the east side of the
Yes.
pond, it'll be just east of that. I can
Okay.
provide a plan.
No, I can picture it, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So make sure those duckies are safe.
We understand that was a valued community asset. So we were thinking about the people who live in this community and how much that means to them.
Rami, I see you still have your hand up. Do you need to speak? Oh, it's from the floor. Okay, thank you. Justine.
Thanks, Jeff. I just want to make a comment and a request. And it's about the kids' playgrounds as the construction is close to it. I'm leaving the dog run conversations to the dog people. My dogs don't play well with others, so my dogs don't play in the playground. But with the playground, something that concerns me, and I'd love it if you guys would be proactive about it. Once the playground is closed, and if it's now closed for good, and that's what the decision is, can you guys take the sand out now and just get rid of it? Because it will absorb all sorts of toxins just from the construction, just from the air. I mean, I think the sand does that now anyway, you know, that just pollution from the world. But I would so rather it be emptied of anything that could just hold on to stuff during the construction. And then, of course, obviously, when you open it back up again, you can be putting in clean, fresh sand. But I'm just gonna tell a story, and I don't think I should, because I don't have all the details. But anyhow, I would love it if you, yeah, Tammy knows what I'm talking about, and I'll probably be speaking out of turn and letting my ire come out. Anyhow, I think that would be a smart move to make sure that the kids are safe when you do open it up. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, take that back, Justine, thank you.
Tammy?
Do Betty first, please, and anybody else, and then I'll go last, and I appreciate the time.
Sure, Betty?
I'm not unmuting. Oh, there it goes. I want to clarify, there, I have no objections to the comments people have made about access, but I do want to clarify what people have considered accessibility and how that term is used needs to be clarified very much. Many of the things that were spoken about, somebody who is not a good walker with good balance, anybody who doesn't have good vision would not have access to those things. That doesn't mean that the able-bodied with good vision shouldn't be allowed to go there in a time where there's limits. But I think everybody should be very clear about who is excluded and would not be able to go there, because it's really still not safe for them to go there.
Thanks, Betty, for that clarification. People from the public.
I just, hey, Jeff,
Sure, Bobby. Yes.
just to Betty's point, it's a very good point. You know, if we, in any kind of place where you try to create some access, like you pointed out in the photo, like it's not enough to kind of create 2 feet or shrubbery or, you know, clear some shrubbery. It would have to be a real accessible path, I would think, to be fair to everyone in the community and generally for accessibility reasons. So just keep that in mind as you keep thinking about this.
Yes, that is a good point. Eyeballing it, there may be enough for a truly accessible path there. If not, relatively small movement by the Port Authority would make an accessible path. And as I've said before, we have invited the Port Authority to come to the June meeting. And if we need their cooperation, we'll certainly ask for it at that time.
Does a member of the public, Buff K, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you all for your time and care in all of this. I have 2 questions. One is about the trees, and the other one is to clarify the decision-making process in all of this. The trees, that's an easier question. Battery Park City has a wonderful map that shows every tree that was planted here by name and gives all kinds of details. Could Turner or whoever's going to propose to take trees down, take that site plan and show us which ones they're proposing to take down? Because 22 trees around the perimeter of Gateway down here, I'm looking outside, I have a photo if I can share it. I'm just wondering which ones really need to come down. And the reason I'm asking is I watched the Pump House Park, and prior to the construction there, they had protective fencing around almost every tree in there, which made me feel really happy and hopeful that they were going to still live. But I was shocked when I saw that they took way over half of the cherry trees down there, and they had protective fencing around them. So I'd like to understand, this relates to my second question. who's really in charge? Is it Port Authority, and does Battery Park City have to go to them with requests, or is it a collaborative thing? Who in the end makes decisions? Those are my questions. Trees and decisions. Thank you.
Buck, it's Nick Spordo. Nice to hear your voice again. I will take the first part first. So yes, we have the tree mapper tool that has a beautiful interactive map with about 1,750 odd dots on it, which are all the trees in Battery Park City with species and along those lines. It kind of talks to the overall approach that we take toward tree canopy and sustainability in Battery Park City. That's an interactive map, so that map gonna need some updating because I don't believe it had the trees. Wagner, I think that map came online when Wagner was still under construction, and it's gonna be updated, it needs to be updated for the trees that are both planted and taken out as a result of the Northwest Battery Park City resiliency work. So that's a longer lead item. As a more immediate item, Dan and I spent some time on this week, actually. We are gonna have uploaded to the site probably in the next week or so, updated reach by reach graphics of what trees exist before construction started, what trees are gonna come out as a result, and what trees will be planted after construction is complete or over the course of construction being complete. And the reason there may be some confusion there, which I think is a completely fair point, is there are documents that we had over the course of the, what is it now, Jeff, 5 years of
Long time.
public feedback, that has trees. I think there's some documents from like June 2024. We had a big meet community then in Stuyvesant High School auditorium. Some things have changed since then, and that's a function of, once you start construction and you open the ground up, or you do some different analysis, sometimes things are not always exactly where they say they are on the maps. Utility is not where it was, or it is in one place and it's not supposed to be in another. So things have changed over the course of where we were in June 26th to where we are now in almost June 24 versus June 26th. All that is to say, we will have updated renderings and images reach by reach about where the trees were, are, and will be. The longer lead question is updating the interactive map up, which is a great tool. We have to do that as well. We're gonna get the images up first, share with the community boards, you can share them, and then we're gonna update the tool. The second question about the decision making is, so Turner is working through and executing on the project as we go. There are gonna be cases where to build a flood barrier system, trees have to come out, but that is done obviously in consultation with the authority and understanding what has to come out and why. I will note, just for the benefit of the group, and I'll let Dan take it after that. Sometimes what has to happen as well, if resiliency were not happening at all, just over the course of maintaining a park system, there are trees that have to come down every now and again for health conditions. This tree is dying, or this tree, believe it or not, struck by lightning or got blown down. You remember a couple of years ago, there was a really heavy windstorm. After, struck out like 5 trees, those just trees have to come out. So that's an extreme case, but over the course of managing 36 acres of parks and 700 trees, there will be trees that have to come out. We call them conditional removals because of health. Of the trees that are being removed over the course of the Northwest work, 40 of those trees, 40, so not all of them, but not nothing. 40 trees are conditional removals, meaning they would have to come out even if the resiliency work were not happening. So that's 40 of the roughly 500 overall are conditional removals. I'll turn it to Dan for the decision-making tree.
The other question is a really interesting one. I mean, Port Authority and Battery Park City and Turner, we're kind of all in the same boat, trying to row in the same direction. So we're trying to be as collaborative as we can be, considering, you know, we have different relationships with each other, but we're trying to work within the constraints that we have to deliver all of our projects as quickly as possible.
I would just add that the Port Authority really only has a role in the area near Gateway, I believe, and near, I guess, Vesey when we're talking about the ferry terminal. For the most part, they're not involved in this project. But Dan, if that's incorrect, you know.
No, that's right. Yeah.
So,
but, you know, we are
who
working
does
with
Turner report to?
Go ahead.
Who does Turner report to? Who holds them accountable?
Battery Park City Authority.
Okay. Thank you.
Paula, you can go ahead and speak.
You'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay, Paula, we'll skip you for a minute and go to Felipe S.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all. I'm Felipe Serra. I'm a resident here in Battery Park City, and I've been going through the whole project, the FEIS, the December tech memo, and we sent some emails and got the reply from the BPCA also about the trees. And I think you guys just mentioned the project is planned to take down around 500 trees. That's around 40% of the canopy of where the project is being taken. In some cases, like South Esplanade, that number goes to closer to 80%, according to the documents we have. I'm anxious to get the updated one because the visual maps we have is from the DEAIS, and I know this has been updated. So I have actually a question and an ask. So the question is about the updated, because the only public tree map we have is the old one. And we saw the count of trees being changed twice. Once in the FEIS and again in the December tech memo, in which we got around 50. I just wanted to do a +1 on the ask on having a updated map so we can understand which trees should be being cut, because from the residents on the places where the trees are being cut, there's people actually saying, hey, this tree is not showing us in the map to be cut, and they are taking it down. And on the ask, just to finish, sorry to take a bit long, to be clear up front, I'm not asking to stop the project, but I really feel we can review or rethink the design so that we can try to keep more of those 40-year-old trees. I know we're gonna replant a lot of them, but we're basically changing a 30, 40-year tree with a tree that was just planted. It's not the same. I looked at all the alternative designs that were evaluated, as was answered in the email that I sent, to check it there. And none of them was basically trying to optimize to keep the trees. And even in the first slide, this was not something in the principles. It's more on reducing disruption. But my ask is to get alternative designs that optimize for less of those old trees being cut, so that we understand what are those designs, what are the trade-offs, are they way more expensive, is the schedule being way longer, it's a matter of engineering, so the community as a whole can weigh in on this.
Okay, thanks, Felipe. Thanks for known from the Battery Park City Authority. Happy to update you with the updated tree images when we have them. Zach, you have the email or whatever way to reach Felipe, you can email me and I'll email it to you directly, but once that link is live, I can certainly send you the information about the new trees.
No, I think in terms of
And then, go ahead.
Felipe's question on the design, I mean, we understand from the various presentations that there's limited flexibility with the concept of a flood wall in terms of the trees near the flood wall. But often in a construction project like this, the contractor will desire to cut down trees for access purposes and so forth, as opposed to trees that simply can't be where the wall is going to be. And I know you all, from time to time in the past, have committed to minimizing the loss of mature trees. But I think it's appropriate to continually reevaluate that, particularly as construction is moving forward. Um, Particularly on this sort of construction convenience issue. I'm sure if I were the contractor and I didn't live in the neighborhood, I'd figure, let's just, take them all down. It's easier to get my heavy equipment in there and let's go. And so I think as the owner and supervisor of all this, the authority really needs to be vigilant to make sure that in fact, no unnecessary removals take place. I'm gonna let you guys address the design issues, but I kind of suspect based on all the presentations, there's limits on what can be accomplished on the design, but there's much that perhaps can be accomplished in making sure that the construction practices don't result in needless tree removal.
Yeah, I think I think it's an excellent point, Jeff. As someone who has to and frankly enjoys showing his face in this community, I think it's very helpful for me to be able to say, yeah, like, to take a tree out because it's just easier to do it that way is not something that certainly me internally would be cool with. Like, I really need to understand, like, does this really have to go? We really try to make sure that internally we understand it and are asking the right questions to make sure. Very large, the trees that have to come down because the wall has to be constructed and you have to have the subsurface support. But your point is well taken, and we'll continue to press on that because we wouldn't want, me personally, and as an authority, we can take them down just because it's easier. I don't think that's right or a fair way to go. In terms of the design, though, I will say the design is fine. The design is baked. It's been informed by 5 years of input, and it is being operationalized as the project is built. Does that mean that in every case whatsoever, there isn't perhaps something on the margin that can be addressed in terms of like finishing or coloring or things along those lines for the wall? I'll let Dan address that, but the design itself is baked and is being built. Would not be able to be changed without many additional years and probably many additional hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. I also just want to say, as everyone can probably expect, it's not easy to deliver news of tree removal. I love trees. Battery Park City is a neighborhood of parks and green space, and trees are one of the core things to that identity. And so it pains me to have tree removal as part of this project. What helps me sleep at night is understanding that flood-proofing the neighborhood is really important, and also taking down some of these trees that are very homogeneous, frankly. There's a lot of the same types of these older trees. It's not good for the neighborhood from a diversity standpoint. If a certain type of infestation would come and wipe out large swaths of the neighborhood's trees because they were not diverse enough, that would be a disaster, right? So we're making the plant palette more diverse and more resilient. And, you know, I don't know if I've shared this before, but one of our landscape consultants told us that by the 2050s, climate change will make the New York City climate closer to today's Georgia than today's New York. So we have to make the whole plant palette more resilient and look ahead for these future issues. So that's one benefit to changing up the plant palette for the trees. Yeah.
I just want to add two things real quick. First of all, kudos to Felipe for reading the EIS and the tech memo. I thought only Jeff and maybe Tammy read it, but good on you. We'll have that information a little bit more readily accessible on the project website as we finish these maps up and images. And I just wanted to shout out Dan a little bit. Like, he's going tree by tree, counting every single one of them to make sure that each one of them is accountable. It's tedious, important work that he's been doing. I've been looking at him also. I'm like, thank God he's counting every single one of them and going back with Scape, the landscape architect, to make sure that they're accurate and that they adhere to what we've said publicly, at least with the tech memo and the latest design. And nothing is meant to be taken down willy-nilly because of convenience or anything else. This is the plan, and we expect it to be adhered to. So it's a good question, but we do intend to keep to the tree count that we've laid out here.
Rami, could you then come back to us and let us know what happened, particularly for what people have already said, I'm sure there's more comments I know to come. But for example, Pump House Park, we very much were promised that only the trees on the, one area would be taken out. We were shown many diagrams on what it's going to look like. And that seemed to be an indicative example after many, 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 many meetings and many, many, many affirmations. So I look at that and say, I definitely hear what you're saying, hear what Dan's saying, but I think what Jeff's saying is the most paramount thing for the conversation. Whatever was promised, if it's not being delivered and it's under the guise of, well, you know what, it's going to be easier to pull my truck in this way, and so let's just take that down. And Turner didn't make that promise to the community, the BPCA did. So there is a real, I think, Jeff has hit the nail on the head of what's happening. And so there are far more things happening than the community is expecting. No, I mean, we joked around many times and said it's always going to be awful when the bulldozers roll down the street, but I think it's a little bit more than we even expected. So as much as we're trying to chase down to have, and I hated having to read the EIS and the tech memos and all the rest of it, but I felt that it was our due diligence, and I think Jeff did too, and many around the table in that room have read a lot of the documents. And so when we're just looking for a little bit more, I think, is a right way to frame this. And I appreciate you saying you're going to go back and you're going to look and you're going to try and help. Any pressure that you can put on Turner about the public realm is really spectacular.
Yeah.
And I know there are other people who want to talk, so I'm going to hold my questions to the end again.
Yeah, and I'll just be quick. We'll look over the pump house trees. I just noticed your background actually. That was a good setup. So we'll look over that. I know that some of the questions that came up when we did South Cove was people referencing the older plan, and so they thought something was not supposed to come down, and then it did come down, and they were confused and upset for very good reason, because the documents that we had accessible on our website were out of date. They didn't know that, and so we scrambled, and we've been working for the last couple of weeks to really kind of bring it up to date, to reflect the latest information that we have based on the tech memo. So I'll do that for you, and we'll see what we find out.
Paula.
I don't have a mic.
Yeah, you do.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're good.
I'm trying to hold myself in a good way, but I'm very pissed. The community needs the dog run. I took pictures before they closed it, the same day. There's a board there. Take the board away, get rid of the weeds, and you're right into the dog run. Unless you're drilling and doing crazy stuff around it, I think we can still use it. But the fact of the matter is, I said to Jeff this morning, I can't believe it, and I bet they're going to use it for staging. And sure enough, you said that tonight. Who's using it for staging? The BPCA or the Port Authority?
Turner Construction. Is that it? Turner is?
Well, tell them you
I'll have
can't.
to be sure. I don't want to.
This is a community. This is a community amenity. We need it. So get rid of the board and get rid of the weeds and let us use the run. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce. Bruce, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yes, so on a similar note, I think I attended not the CB1 meetings, but I attended many of the informational meetings where repeated assurances were made that the dog park and the playground were remain open. These are not merely optional park amenities. They're vital social spaces used daily by residents, families, children, seniors, and dog runs. If the project removes the existing shrubbery alongside the dog park, that creates a practical opportunity to maintain a simple pedestrian corridor from the side of the park to the dog run and the playground. This should be incorporated into the design now, rather than forcing residents into an unnecessary 180-degree turnaround. And this turnaround is not a minor inconvenience. It changes how people use the park. It separates residents from the very spaces they were assured would remain open and accessible. It also risks isolating children, adults, and dog owners from the informal daily contact that made those spaces meaningful. And if you're not aware, there have been numerous national broadcasts and public discussions focusing on the irretrievable harm caused by social isolation among both children and adults. This project should not unintentionally worsen that problem by making important community gathering across areas harder to reach. The solution appears straightforward. Preserve a direct side access corridor to the dog park and playground. Doing so would honor the promises you made, maintain community connectivity, and ensure the resiliency project not only benefits not only the park's infrastructure, but also the people who rely on it. Because right now, frankly, it's more akin to me visiting a client at the Manhattan Correctional Center than actually going outside on the Esplanade. It's fences and chain fences and barriers and border and turnarounds that make it virtually inaccessible by anyone with any level of physical disability. And if that's not important to this resiliency project, a complete reassessment needs to be done at the top level down, because there is no oversight. There's last minute changes that being inflicted on the residents of Battery Park City. And frankly, sir, I find it outrageous.
Thank you, Bruce. Tammy, I see you have your hand back up.
I said, let all the public go. So if Robin's back and Robin wants to go, let everybody go before I go.
Oh, a second. Let me see. I don't see Robin's hand up anymore.
He's doing it for
I don't see any other, if anyone else, other than Tammy wishes to speak, now's the time to hold up your hands.
Oh, I'm hearing it.
All right, I'll roll. So this is the first that I've heard. I've heard that I knew that the privacy wall eventually was coming down, I guess, at Gateway, and the trees, the number of trees. I didn't realize the trees inside the Gateway back lawn were coming down. So Dan, I'd love to hear a little bit more on that. Gateway doesn't tell people when the construction is happening. They're not saying anything about the project because that's not theirs necessarily to share. I mean, we heard that the water problems at 375 were directly related to the issues with the, we'll call it the fire hydrant that was in the back that couldn't be capped. And I feel bad because the residents at 375, they've had brown water on and off since April 8th. I did talk to Nick about this, and I did, say to him, I understand that there's work being done. Some of it is Battery Park City's responsibility for the brown water, turning it back on, turning it back off. Some of it was Gateway, turning it on, turning it off with the water. So it's just that the impact on that particular building, we expected always to be fairly high because of where the building is located and the things that have happened. I get that. But I think that the residents don't have a sense of how often this will be. Is this going to be the new norm that once a week their water will be brown coming out of their taps and they will have to be running water? That's a kind of thing, Dan, that I think that the construction people and Turner and yourselves need to be able to communicate back out to the community more effectively, because I'm sure Gateway doesn't want anybody knowing that, because it's going to affect their ability to rent their luxury apartments. But the people who are currently living there and who are not leaving should have some information, right? And I think the first email that I saw about the water that got to me was April 8th. So we've had a month of it over in that section. We understand that the amenities that are provided at Gateway, for example, they have a back lawn, the north lawn, as you referenced it, and they have a pool area. We were told that everything would be open. So I'm a little surprised, I guess, to hear right now that the north lawn will have the wall taken down and all the trees in potentially June, when we were told that that space is open for the
No,
season.
I want to clarify that.
Yeah, please,
I'll
because I don't
clarify
want to
that.
spread bad information. I want it to be accurate.
I don't have the timeline for when the wall will be demolished, but the trees I know are gonna be starting next week, as I mentioned. With,
And that's both inside the Gateway North Lawn and outside next week?
it's only the trees outside. We're currently working with LaFrac on the timing for the trees within the privacy wall. But the decision to take those trees down is not a new one. That's been baked for a long time because it's within 15 feet of the wall. The wall to be built.
I
the wall
never
to be
heard
built.
it either.
Okay, so that goes back to some of the questions that were asked before. So we asked as a community board, and it's in our resolutions and it's in many, many places. That 15-foot measurement that you used, we were told was a result from FEMA, that was a FEMA requirement for insurance purposes. We also were told during the planning process that it is possible to seek variances depending on where the wall is and many other factors, and that BPCA would be looking into the possibilities for variances to be able to leave some of the bigger, older trees. This came up around Gateway, this came up around the Esplanade, this came up around Rockefeller Park, this came up around the playground at Rockefeller. It came up in numerous areas. I could think of 5 off the top of my head. I'm sure if I scooped back through all the resolutions and everything, which God forbid, Dan, I really don't want to do going back to 2020, even maybe 2019 before the COVID hit, where we had our meeting at BMCC. So these questions have not been new. The one thing I've never seen that came, and it was always a comment on an EIS and other things, were about the variances. We never got an answer, but I think my answer is we never filed for any, because were there any variances done to retain trees in places that were less than 15 feet that was asked by the community and sought? And if so,
So the tech memo speaks specifically to these issues, but I'll answer a few of your points on the top. So there's no need to seek a variance in these cases, because a variance, at least to use the semantic term variance, is a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers term that's required on their project whenever there's a tree within 15 feet. On our project, for constructability reasons, that's the main reason why we've had to take down these trees within 15 feet. Even if a tree does not look like it might be within the construction zone or need to be taken down, if construction impacts a certain percentage of its root zone, that makes the tree unsafe and unviable. So that's a major reason why some of these trees have to come down. I also just want to point out that a lot of the new trees that we're planting are going to be within 15 feet. So to answer your question, yes, in some to use a certain lens, we are seeking a variance for those. I think it's 60 trees.
60 trees, 60 replacement trees we planted within the 15-foot buffer as part of the project.
and so the answer is the trees have to be removed, and the variance is to put them back. You couldn't do a variance to retain the trees that are there and protect them.
As I mentioned earlier, every tree has been analyzed for whether or not we can keep it. From, as Nick mentioned, sometimes it's a tree that's already in bad health. Sometimes it's a direct contradiction with the construction. Sometimes it is as a result of access. We do need heavy machinery to access a lot of these construction sites. So a combination of factors led to analyzing each individual trees, both from the BPCA side as well as our landscape consultants. And that is how we arrived at the final number. Which, because of construction, that number will potentially grow, potentially shrink throughout construction, and we'll keep you updated as to those changes.
So then I have like 5, but I'm going to prioritize.
Real quick on the variance question. We got about 60 emails. I don't know. We got a lot of emails about the trees recently. And so we sent responses to everybody a couple days ago. And it included, there were a lot of questions about this variance issue. So we answered that question in that email. So at the very least, people who've been asking have that answer now, and it's basically what Dan said. I just wanted to know.
Understood, but when it was explained to us, Rami, it was really about the 15 feet around the flood wall, not, and that it had to do not with the Army Corps project, because this isn't an Army Corps project. It had to do, it was very much tied in with FEMA. That's the way it was explained at every single BPCA representation from the team. It was related to FEMA and the requirements that FEMA had to be certified. So that's, I mean,
Yeah,
no one
I think
knew.
I buried the lead a little bit, Tammy, because this has come up a number of different times, so I kind of forgot the most important thing, which is, we are building a flood wall that needs to be sturdy and undisturbed by roots, by trees falling over. We need FEMA to be able to access the wall, to be able to certify it. So there's a lot of layers to why we can't keep trees or plant new trees within that 15 feet. As I mentioned, we were able to plant a number of trees within that 15 feet because they were deemed a safe type of tree and also deemed safe in those locations. So I hope that helps clarify a little bit.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing the chart of trees and the reason that each one had to be taken out, whether it was for access, which of course we would argue against, being find a different way to get there, whether it was sick and the other things. When you're talking about a tree replacement, though, I think there's a big difference between there's a difference between a birch tree and an elm tree. You know what I mean? One is something with deep roots and a bigger canopy, and there's something that's very tiny. So if you're talking about replacing tree for tree, it's like, I'm more on the fluffy side of life. I am not the same size as, for example, other people. People and trees are different size, different shapes, and different canopies. So the community likes the big fluffy trees that we have. So if you're talking about replacing a tree, the thing that the community needs to know is what that tree is going to look like in 5 years, in 10 years. Will it ever be the same as trees that we have now? And it's not just about the tree. I need to preface this because I said this to Rami as we walked back from Wagner the other day. What I've heard from the residents in 70 Battery was how brutal it is in their space because they don't have trees anymore that either block the wind in the winter time, block the sun in the spring and summertime. So they're, not only did they, have an apartment if they were on the bottom 4 floors that were in a tree canopy, but it affected their quality of life for light, for air, and heat, and bills. I mean, the electric bills that I'm hearing are 30 to 50% higher on the places where the trees have been removed. So you have to understand, this is not just a conversation about trees. There's an economics that goes to this that is current and long-term. If you're a condo owner and you know what your costs have been and whatever the case is, anything that you're doing outside that affects the light, the air, and it affects all of it. So there's a larger portion that then brings me around to the rats. Okay. Every time you move a wall, the rats are brutal and they're running from point A to point B. The one thing we asked whenever you were working was coordination. It used to be back in the olden days under a different administration and a different way that the Parks Department, the Parks version of the Battery Park City worked is, and I know this from when I was on the Tenants Association at Gateway, whenever Battery Park City Authority was going to mitigate for rats, Gateway did the same thing. Same time period, coordinated between the two organizations because otherwise, correct. So the concerns, we already know, if anybody who lives down here, the rats are brutal around Gateway. They're really big. Partially because we have a lovely restaurant behind Gateway. They're really big in certain sections of the park, right? They're in certain sections of the Esplanade. We have seen them starting to run and hide from the construction people. It's not good. And so I would, before you move that wall, which is like the rat highway behind Gateway, right? We really need to talk about mitigation and knowing that you and Gateway Plaza will work together on it because it's not healthy. There are rats there during the evening, every evening you want to sit. If you are on the rainbow bench behind Gateway, you're on the north side over by the volleyball courts, you can hear them in that space. So I say that because this is one thing over here. When you move to the north, it'll definitely be the same behind where all the restaurants are. And I mean, I'd love to take a picture for you out walking the dog at night and seeing the rat run. But it's not, it just, we need to hear from you that it'll be. And so lastly, beyond getting an authority chart of trees and stuff, can you confirm when the walls around Gateway will be coming down, both at the north lawn, and will the wall that's on the south side of Gateway come down? On the other side of Meze?
On the south side of Meze. Okay, I'll have to get back to you about that.
Let me write it down. South side of Meze, what was the other one, Tam?
South side of
Around
Meze, which is outside of, which is Meze itself and
Yeah.
the pool. And then is Meze staying open? Have you found a way? And if not, what is the Battery Park City Authority doing to mitigate the fact that they've closed all access to that restaurant, or are they just SOL?
Access is currently open, from both sides of Meze actually. And, the decision of whether or not to keep Meze open, I believe is between Lafrac and Meze, but my understanding is that it's gonna be open through the summer at least.
Okay, so even more so to protect that restaurant when you're looking at the walls and the trees. You know, they won't stand a chance. We want to protect the business. They've been there for a long time. It's it's an asset for the neighborhood. But if you start taking walls down, the rats got nowhere else to go. That's not fair for them either, right?
All right, will follow up some gateway walls generally, and then obviously coordination with BRAC about rodent mitigation, which is, I assume, part of the plan already, because there's a rodent mitigation plan as part of the project. Nonetheless, we could stand to kind of give them a double tap on that, make sure that they know when our work is happening, so they can go ahead and plan for their own as well, so they simply can't scurry back and forth.
I don't think there is access to Meze because you can't go down Liberty to get in there.
I think Dan is referring to through Gateway, through the
Oh,
Meze.
From the
the general, yeah, but
From
no.
the Esplanade, I should have specified.
So you can't get from the Esplanade down Liberty, that's closed. And then is Albany's closed.
No, Albany is open, but Gateway doesn't usually allow people going
No,
to
they're
that
not- they're-
restaurant to access through the front doors. You
So
cannot
there's only
come,
one.
there's only one way to get there.
No.
So when,
If
how you
Liberty
can.
is closed, how do you get on?
There are two doors to Meze, both doors are open. But you can only access them from the rest of the world through either Albany or Rec.
Well, the public that doesn't live in Gateway
That's correct.
can only get there through Albany. Street.
Albany,
You know,
yeah.
So there are not two ways for the public to get there. There's only Albany Street.
I think I misspoke. I was talking about the two entrances that are on the Esplanade, are both currently open.
Well, that's just their doors, but
Right.
yes, they have two doors that are open.
So
But
I
you
just,
can only, the public has to go to Albany
That's
to get
correct.
there. They can no longer go
That's right.
down Liberty.
That's right.
So I just want to confirm, we're gonna hear back ASAP about the dog run and the tot lot, right? That's the expectation. We will hear ASAP about an expectation of the walls coming down around Gateway. Right, because that involves access.
Can we just clarify, on the walls, you're asking timing for those walls coming down, right?
Yeah. Right. And I mean, I think the Battery Park City Authority should be the ones to tell the public where that's going, right? And then the tree chart.
Water.
Yep. I'm
The
trying to go through
groundwater.
the ground and the water. Oh yeah, the water. Thank you. And then I'm not sure, I'd heard at some point that I thought 380 Rector was having water problems, but I leave that to Rami and Nick to confirm. I got a little confused in the bulk of information that was coming to me. So I'm going to leave it that way.
I think we only heard about 375. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. In terms of predictability of that, this situation was a weird one, not planned. And I want to be very careful how we communicate whether or not some kind of water disruption will happen, because I don't want to say that. I want to be able to say we will give notice in advance enough, that it's acceptable. I just want to make sure that I will be able to know that before, because if I feel like I say that, but then every other time I'm not actually aware of it really in advance, then I don't really feel like it's helpful. So
Well,
that would be the goal, to try to get ahead of any of it. But I don't know. I have no reason to believe that it's going to be happening every month or so. But I will talk more to Turner and just get a sense. This was an accident. It was not on purpose. It was not meant to be happening. There was a Yodoc that got spilled. We had to use the thing. Anyway, so there's an issue, but it wasn't planned.
I have to interrupt on this because this is the water we drink, okay? And I live in 375.
So do
There
I.
are, yeah, there are pregnant women, there are elderly people, there's sick
Babies.
people, there are babies. In Gateway, whenever they're going to shut off the water or work on the water, we get an email before it happens. And they will, if it's going to be more than an hour, they actually supply bottled water. If any work is being done on our water supply, this is our lives. You are doing a $2 billion construction project in a residential neighborhood. This has to be one of the biggest construction projects ever done where people actually live. And I have to say, answers like that, Rami, make me feel like you don't realize there's human beings living there. You can know when work's being done.
Jill,
You
be
may not
nicer than
know.
that. So Jill, come on.
If you misinterpreted what I'm saying, what I'm saying is I want to be able to say something that I can stand by. And if I know that something is going to be closed or there'll be a water main shutdown and it could potentially result in discolored water, we will let you know as soon as we know. But I cannot, if it's unforeseen, I cannot tell you, and I don't want to guarantee that you'll know something that I don't know. I will tell you as soon as I know something's going to happen far in advance. And we talk to Turner and we say that, please let us know. And Michael's right there. You can talk to him as well. Like the goal is to know in advance so that everyone is prepared, and so that we can tell the building management and they can tell you guys, and we could talk to GTA as well and tell them. So that is the goal here. I did speak to DEP and just get a basic sense of like what this is when it's dirty water. It's like, it obviously happens throughout the city. It is sediment. It is not in any way hazardous, but it's not to drink right now. When it's dark and dirty and it's gross, you just run the tap and it eventually goes away. And that is the instruction. And we want to be able to tell you when we think that is going to happen. That is that is our goal.
It's not a satisfactory answer. I can tell you once again, when Gateway is going to do work on the water, we get.
They weren't doing work on the water. It was an accident.
No, they were doing, because we got a notice
They
after the
started
fact,
doing-
Gateway,
There,
that they had started.
it was both.
Yeah.
It's both. Gateway's been working in the building since April 8th with the water issue. So, yeah. But, did I miss anything, Jeff, in the wind up? Did I try and
No,
get
I mean,
everything?
that was pretty comprehensive.
Yep. And Rami, I appreciate where you're going, and I want to say thank you on that. I wish, and no shade thrown to Michael, he's just the liaison, but if that same due diligence is done to find ways that evenings and weekends are better in the community, that would be great. And if that means you got to move a fence on a Friday at 5, that should be the way that goes every day. And then lastly, I don't remember her name, but there was a woman who came and presented at the Battery Park City Committee, one of the committees at one point, and it was a large conversation about the fences and art design. Maybe Mimi, something like that. I think she was like something like that was her name. She worked at the Battery Park City Authority. I haven't seen her in a while, and it was about having the fences be decorated artwork, yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything about that in the last 2 or 3 meetings. I would rather the fences move back so we have more public space than the artwork, but if not, I'm gonna do a shout out to the lovely lady in
It'll take the
Tribeca
art.
who used to do the gorilla art on the construction sites. Do we have any updates on that?
Yeah, Dan, to Tammy's point, I recall that presentation, and I know you guys basically did the same thing in the south. Do you know what the
Yes.
plans are for these?
So that's still in the works. Mimi Taft unfortunately does not work at the authority anymore. But we are picking up her work where she left it, and that work will proceed. And I'll give you an update when I have it.
Okay, well, these discussions are important, and we need to, these updates of what's actually going to happen on the ground, what actually is happening on the ground, because we understand that just from time to time, as well as community may have thoughts and concerns that they don't realize they have until the bulldozers are outside their windows. And so it is important to periodically have these presentations, and thank you, Dan, for coming.
Of course, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Nick and Pat, we're up for your reports.
Great. Pat, you want to start or shall I? All right, I'll start. We got the hot hand. And thank you, Jeff, and Jill and team. Sure, listen, believe me when I tell you, it's important, and we are really committed to getting it as right as we can. We're gonna be far from perfect, but not too far. Okay? And Robbie too, we're talking multiple times a day, and, I think the concern is, as always, I don't want to, and Robbie doesn't want to kind of make promises that we can't deliver on. But we're gonna do our best to continue to get better, so thank you. All right, so. I hear some music outside, that's not from, but it might as well be.
It's been going on.
It matches kind of my cover image here. So we kicked off the summer programming season with the Bindleston Family Circus on Saturday there in Wagner Park. It's a pretty good crowd for what was, I guess, a chilly day. But Craig was here earlier and described in detail some of the highlights of the program and calendar. You have hard copies here, it's being mailed to all subscribers, and it's on our site as well. So that was just a kind of a nice cover image for you. I will take this. I realize that I have the controller. Dan went through this, so the full presentation, you guys have it, I'll post it on the site, but just some updates for you all about the work going on in the Northwest. I'm not gonna belabor it, but we have obviously for the utility location, the construction of the wall itself, tie gate work, et cetera. And then I've reiterated here, which is also included in the presentation, our public sessions, the street ends meeting, the drop-in sessions, and then another plug with a hyperlink there to sign up for our construction newsletter. That Macwood works very hard on, and of the sort that Jeff, you'll see updates again as we have them, not only in response to individual folks who email us, but then as we have that in a way that makes sense and is able to communicate to a broader audience, we'll kind of integrate into the construction newsletter so we can reach a larger audience. The South Project, I know we were here, I wasn't here last month, but I know that he was here last month, giving an update on the remnants of the South Project, which is primarily now Perry Plaza and the northern edge of Battery Park, along Battery Place, we call it Packet 4. 99% work in Wagner Park done, except for some punch list items that include things like touching up paint or installing some plantings. It's essentially complete. Pier A and the Battery, we are inching up there, so we're around 80% complete. We have to do some stone installation, soil installation, and site grading. Target completion now. We're gonna try and reopen those areas in phases. So the first phase, we're gonna aim to have open for Memorial Day. And then the final amendments of the fencing by Labor Day. So, the area in and around the area of Peoria Plaza and the Battery. I will have more information probably, Memorial is this month, but as we get closer to actually being clear about where the fencing will be and will not, I can communicate that as well.
Do you know whether in phase one, Memorial Day, we can get into historic Battery Park, like right from the Wagner Park area, or we're still gonna have to go all the way to State Street?
I will let you know, ideally, I think the idea is not to have folks walk to State Street, but again, I don't wanna say it till I know I can do it for you. Or until the team can, and I get to tell you about it. But I'll be back with, more information once I have some more clarity on what will be open when. But that's the idea now, the latest is to open it in phases, so as stuff is ready to go and is complete, when I can keep the whole thing closed, we'll open it as we can. It just won't be everything all at once, but with an eye toward having it open by end of the summer. All right, we opened very happily and gratefully the ball fields. You'll recall we closed it in November for a turf replacement project. It wasn't just replacement of the turf, which was at the end of its useful life, but also for an upgrade of the water misters and bullpens and batting cages. It looks great, the facility is wonderful, and we're very happy to celebrate there with Downtown Little League on opening night for them on April 17th. The ball fields opened that weekend prior, the 12th, for the opening of the Downtown Little League season. And really, really happy to partner with our great friends and partners and real power users in the field, the Downtown Little League. Of course, that runs into the summer and the spring and the fall when the soccer downtown soccer uses it, and in the fall when we have Downtown Giants and other users, as well as our local schools. IS-276, PS-89 runs their field day there, and others. So really great local amenity. That was a nice poster that the kids made us when the fields opened up earlier in early April. All right, just a quick rundown here, and again, Craig went through these details. So you have the programming guide there. I just did a quick tick on the events coming up this month because they're in the immediate vicinity. I will start with, as a reminder again, that the farmers market opens this Sunday. We're obviously reminding buildings again about the closure of River Terrace on Sundays to vehicular traffic from May 10th to November 22nd. Same as it was last year. So it's open to pedestrians, everyone else can walk through, no vehicle traffic, because that's where the farmers market actually is, and that's the bend alongside Irish Young Memorial Plaza and along River Terrace. And then we have Go Fish coming up, we have Red Barat, which is it's a big deal, that's coming up on the 28th, and then Fun Fed Fishing with Lower East Side Ecology Center, which incidentally, I think Joe brought it up before, Marianne, that's the group we partnered with in the past to do the e-waste recycling periodically. So they become a really nice partner for us there as well.
Awesome, thank you.
And then I will turn it over to Pat. Just a quick note. We had some open spaces here, so I took it upon myself to remind folks again about no dogs on lawns /PPC. So just a reminder there, you're okay on hard surfaces, as long as you're leashed. No dogs on turf or green surfaces, obviously. And if you're unleashed, you have to be in the dog run, please, to do it. And then just a few quick permanent events coming up, not a lot. And again, Tammy's still on the line. Again, this is in keeping with stuff just in the south, not running through. So it's a very, very short loop. The American Lung Association has a walkathon coming up on the 16th. Asphalt Green, they come up earlier as well. They're doing a big play day. It's a kind of a block party type event on the 16th as well. That's going to be in the area between 200 and 300 North End Avenue. That's Liberty Lux and Liberty Green. So it's an open to all public event. Should be a lot of fun. And that's on the May 16th. It's on their website as well. And then PS97 and PS34 is doing a walkathon on the 30th. Just around about. Those are the big events for the month. Go ahead.
Can you explain the first one again? Sorry. I know it's
Yes.
only like 1,000 people, but are they on the street or
It's
are
just a
they
pass. They
sidewalk
go on
only?
Battery Place, they come up Little West Street. They turn left on Second Place, south on Battery Place, and out of Battery Park City. The same path that we've done for other events in the south.
So a sidewalk only.
It should be, I believe it's sidewalk. I believe it's, yeah, I don't, it doesn't include any street closures.
That's what I was checking. Street
Yeah,
closures.
no, that's so important to us. We have a dedicated column to it that says street closures question mark. No, not applicable. So no, it's just in that path and then out of Battery Park City.
So they're both taking place on Saturday. I just would, that and Asphalt Green Day, I just would like you to know that that's the same weekend as Taste of Tribeca. So there's street closures through Tribeca. There's also street closures throughout FIDI completely, because there's movie shoots that weekend, and it is right after the, Betty, help me if I get this right. I think it's after the Bloomberg run and then the American Heart Association run. So it's a really busy weekend in Lower Manhattan as a whole. And I think that that's
Yep.
going to be important for people to know for connectivity. And the reason why I asked about closed streets specifically has to do because there'll be bus challenges throughout the entire week to weekend.
Okay, good flag. I'll make sure that I get with the first precinct as well, make sure they're tracking, which I'm sure they are, because any permit from closed street, we need to go through them at DOT, but that's a good flag. And then with that, I will turn it over to Pat.
Hello. So you can see the numbers on the bottom of Nick's report. This year, so for this month in April, we had 0 graffiti reports. The homeless, we touched base we had 33 contacts with homeless for the month of April. You seem to have it with the same 3, and now 2 of them are gone. And today, the other person that we're having a lot of contact with, he wasn't around today. So we are calling him into 311, and Department of Homeless Services, along with the Downtown Alliance meetings, are aware of it. Lost and found property, we had 4 reports on that. The park rolls, we had 5 reports dealing with that. Vendors, we had 2 incidents with vendors, and that's basically dealing with the ticket vendors down below. And dogs, we had 19 reports dealing with dogs. So dealing with dogs up in Rockefeller, I've just picked up another safety ambassador, so I'm gonna have him up in Rockefeller specifically for that area, and he's working a different shift. So thereby there won't be any gaps in between things to tours for up there. So hopefully that'll solve the issue up there.
2 points. One is a question. Well, it's really kind of a point and a question. Along the Esplanade is the South Esplanade, where parts of it are closed. Doesn't seem to have quite the human traffic, especially in the evening, that it did before the closures, which is kind of understandable since it's not even obvious how to get in there if you aren't familiar with the area. But that leads to safety concerns if you're walking a dog early morning or in the evening. Are you mindful of that with your ambassadors and making sure that there's a
Yes,
presence there?
when they put up the gating, I was working with Ryan Torres,
Mhm.
okay, and I took a walk over there and actually added some geotags over there, so
Okay.
the safety ambassadors are patrolling and scanning the geotags. So if you happen to be over there, you'll see a geotag on one of the base of the light poles
Okay.
over there by the fence line. So we are keeping an eye on it. I'm concerned over there because of the homeless. The fence goes so far, and then you have the black fence. It's only, 4 feet high?
Yeah.
So I brought it up where somebody could hop over and go in.
Yes.
I mean, we've actually put residents, when they were setting up South Cove fencing, going around the fence line.
Yes.
And took a picture and said, okay, if you get injured, it's on you. And they were like, what? Yeah. You know, it's you now because you just went through a fence line. And they quickly came out. So, it's a constant challenge, so we are visiting the fence lines in the area. And, this past couple of days, we've been over at First Street, because they were, helping the flag man when they were backing in some equipment, so. I'm trying to keep cognizant of what's going on there.
So a related point, and this may be for you, Nick, or for Rami, if he's still on.
Yeah.
On the Esplanade, at least as of the other evening, south of West Thames, as you know, there's still some of the Esplanade open.
Right.
South of West
Yep.
Thames before you get to the South Cove. It looked like all of the streetlights were out. And so it's quite dark at night there. And I know when construction starts in an area, sometimes there may be an outage of the regular power, but I've seen in the North Cove area, temporary lighting has been strung up.
I can take that.
Yeah.
I can take that.
So be conscious of that, if they could get some lighting there, we don't want the residents complaining about lights up into their, windows.
Try and solve one problem, we create others.
Windows.
Esplanade south of West Thames until where the work starts at South Cove, I got it.
That's right.
Just for the benefit of whoever may still be listening, should be relatively straightforward. I say that because sometimes it's not. You know, as well as I do, the lights along, Little West Street sometimes, or West Street, sometimes they're not ours, they're like state DOT,
Right.
so we have to get those. The ones along Esplanade are ours, so it should be fairly straightforward, except for that, you don't know what you don't know. So there may be some other power complications that will not allow us to fix it as quickly, in which case maybe some temporary solution can be sought. So I will take it back and see it's either a parks operations and maintenance question or turn question or some combination.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure there's some lighting for folks who are availing themselves of what of the Esplanade is left for the time being. So I can take lighting back.
And then finally, Pat's reference to dogs on the lawn in Rockefeller. I've heard people on the Dog Association complaining that with Kowski Serious Dog Run closed, they feel more inclined to scofflaw on the lawns. And, that does point to a benefit of having dog runs open. It is a pressure valve. There is a sort of a pent-up demand for people having their dogs off leash. And when space is previously available and taken away, there will be some who will take that opportunity to do it elsewhere. So it's yet another reason for the importance, aside from all the other ones people have talked about tonight, it's yet another reason for making an effort to keep that space available, if at all possible.
Okay, it's a fair point. Thank you.
Any other questions for?
Jeff,
Huh?
can I tag in on some of this?
Yes.
There have been a rise in dogs on the West Thames lawn, which is turf. And there's been a rise of dogs kind of everywhere, which is not surprising. So beyond the Wagner Park lawn, I've seen them. There were lots of pictures and additions of people complaining that even while the Rector space was fenced off, that people would let their dogs off leash or just pee in the Rector parks. And there have been, Patrick, and I'm sorry to say this, lots of pictures of people taking pictures of the allied people watching the people on the lawn, not necessarily doing anything. And I have asked the community, this is not for me at a meeting necessarily to say to Patrick, but can you walk up to the Allied ambassador, or can you go to the office and say, listen, there's somebody playing on the AstroTurf with their dog and they're not supposed to be there because it's a dog-free zone. So I'm trying to understand what to tell people more than calling your office, which I appreciate because they do pick up the phone. And how can we, especially with limited real estate, looking ahead, find a situation that's better, that the ambassadors can be more engaged with the public to get the people off where they're supposed to, off where they're not supposed to be, on where they're allowed, is kind of one of my questions in terms of, I have a dog, I know what it is. it is what it is. I mean, I don't know if we can create new paths. I know you're working with everybody, but I just see it as we're in the beginning of May. This is going to be a hell of a popper issue in a month, and then you have all the tourists who are around. I'm trying to find a way that we do better planning ahead, knowing what we have. So, and this goes back to Patrick and how we can have the ambassadors be more, I don't want to use the word aggressive. I'd like to use the word
Engaging.
engaging.
Present, maybe around, see a visible.
Engaging of the public. I think that's the nicest way to express it.
Yeah, I understand. I'm also in the process, in the wintertime and that stuff, they're all ramped down. So I'm just started in the process of slowly hiring people, ramping back up to a full staff where somebody would be specifically assigned to West Thames and also covering the AstroTurf there in the play area. As Parks is doing their programming and they're gonna be using the AstroTurf and that stuff, we're also gonna be there monitoring that area because of interactions that's going on with the public there.
Yeah, I mean, I found somebody walking their dog in the Liberty Community Garden, just saying. Right, I mean,
Listen, I catch them in West Thames lifting their dog up and putting it into the flower bed. And they look at you when you say something to them.
right.
I fully understand where you're going there.
So that's kind of like, I'm really looking to have a more engaging presence from Allied. I think the public also doesn't know that when they're on their phones, they're reporting or they're, touching, base for their reported locations. I think that that's something we can do better to help educate people as a community for those of us who know. But I think it'd be easier if they saw a more engaging Allied, if you understand. And especially now, I'm a little curious because we have less parkland for them to be walking through as it's being closed. So were the numbers that were supposed to be elevated in the spring, have they been reduced in this season due to the closure of the park spaces? And the
No,
construction?
we always ramp down in the wintertime based on the budget that was
So I
set
think
up.
Tammy's asking about when you ramp back up, are you gonna ramp up to the same level that you
I'm
normally?
asking, correct,
Well,
I'm asking if your numbers for the ramp up are equal to the highest numbers that they've been in the past? Or are there less people?
No, I'm gonna end up ramping up higher because, you have FIFA coming up, you have July 4th coming up, and everything that's gonna be going on property, so, that's what's one of the reasons for ramping up. And there's also a lot of activities going on. And believe it or not, there's people acting aggressive towards some of the parks people, and we're also dealing with the ticket sellers down below, which ended up in a big fight, which we had video, and
I
the cops
remember.
ended up taking 2 people to the hospital and putting the rest of them in a radio car and taking them away. So we're also dealing with that. So when Pier 8, any sort of area opens up, that's gonna be a hot issue down there for us also.
Yeah.
That's
I understand that once Pier 8 opens, eventually that will become property for Statue Cruises, which means that you need to be more vigilant and diligent for the ticket hawkers, because for them it's a greater opportunity to expand further around from the bottom of the bike, right where the video was taken, right?
Right.
So I mean, it's
Yeah, well, back to the old way. I used to have a supervisor down there and 2 safety ambassadors dealing with it.
Yep, exactly. So just a conversation and a comment to have that, would love to see that the numbers are definitely up and would love to see a more engaging team of people with the public.
Okay,
Um,
I'm working on it.
And then the last thing I heard was there's been a request by people along North End Avenue. They're struggling with, this is even before the construction gets there. They're struggling with a bucket of bike riders on the sidewalks. Not the sidewalk, on both sides, either by the park and by the buildings. Of adults on bicycles and delivery people just riding sidewalks, not street. And I'm not sure if you can help with that in any manner. I know on the park side you should be able to, on the building side not, but the question was put forward as to what do you think could be helpful to solve that problem?
Well, in reaching out beforehand, before they turned around and made them legal, the police department used to be able to give them summonses and seize the bikes. Now that when they were made legal, the enforcement, unless they change in the law where they can turn around and write them tickets, because they don't even obey the traffic lights, traffic signals, stop signs. I mean, trying to cross the street, if you have the walk sign, if you don't look both ways, you're gonna get run over in certain crosswalks. And I'm sure people have experienced that down here. First Precinct is aware of it. I've been at their community board meetings. I've been down at their last community board meetings, spoke to he's now a deputy inspector, and aware about the ticket issue. So has Becky been there with me, and the rise in issues. And basically they're like, unless we catch them doing a crime, or they got a knife on them, or some weapon or drugs on them, there's really nothing that they can do at this point with the present, well, I'll use his word, present administration, the way it's set up. Okay, that's the way it is, plain and simple. The congressman's spokesman was there, and he's like, oh, we're working on legislation. Well, I don't know. I'm down here 10 years. They've been working on legislation for 10 years. I don't know. Dealing with these ticket sellers. I mean, they go and they gave them a license, so they're legal. The only push that we have is I'll use the term loosely, the legitimate ones have the ticket machines.
Yeah.
Now, I know, because I know some people that were in the business of it, those ticket machines cost like $2,500, okay? So when they sell a ticket and they print it out at a machine, all right? It used to be when cops comes along and they weren't licensed or whatever, they would write them the summons and they'd seize the machine. So right now, if the cop catches them and they have something illegal on them, they're seizing the machines along with them. So the owner of one of the bus companies did show up to one of the First Precinct's community meetings, and I know why he was there. He wanted the ticket machines back, right? Okay, but in the conversation, I mean, he's not getting them back, but in the conversation, it was like, oh, I'm trying to police the people down there. Okay, so, and we know how far that goes. So it's sort of comical when you do see the police show up, because the guy that has the ticket machine, if the cop is walking at him, he's throwing the ticket machine to another person that doesn't have it, and off they go. So that's the issue that you're dealing with down there. That's what's happening right now. I mean, and they're bold. They're bold, it's like I dare you. Okay, because I've been in a conversation with one guy and him standing on the wagon, I'm not selling. He's wearing the jacket, he's got his tag out, and he's got the machine. Immediately, a guy comes running over and takes the machine away from him. Okay? And he's standing, I'm not selling. I'm not selling. Well, you're not selling because I'm standing here and anybody that walks up, you're not selling it to them because I'm telling them where to go to buy the ticket. So, and it ended up being a standoff for like 30 minutes before somebody came over and said, hey, it's time to go. Okay, one of his own. So that's what we're dealing with down there.
Are they allowed to sell on state land? They're not allowed to sell in parkland, so they can't be in Wagner. They can't be in the front of the hotel. And I actually question if they're allowed to be on the trail, which is where the bike area is.
Well, you see, part of the problem is, even what say with the ice cream guy, okay, and the hot dog vendor down there. When they get a permit from the city now, these streets, they bring it up on there and it says they're okay on these streets. Okay, so I don't know what transpired and what changed, where beforehand, US streets down here were not on that list. Now they are on that list. So now when you have a hot dog vendor, you're telling them, hey, you can't set up in the street here. He's like, takes it out. Hey, you can call the cop, I'm not moving, and the cop shows up, and it's right there, that he's okay, he's got all the licenses and everything. So, you know, that's what we're dealing with. If he goes on the sidewalk, then it's no, because now you're in the park. Okay, and you can't sell in the park, that's the park rule. So, you know, and they know this, so that's the game, it's a game back and forth with this. But I don't know when it changed over, where all of a sudden your streets down here, like North End Avenue, believe it or not, North End Avenue is on that list. If a hot dog guy shows up on North End Avenue and Murray Street, as long as he's on North End Avenue, he's okay. As long as he's got all the licenses and that stuff are good.
All right, let's, Justine, you have your hand up.
I just have just a quick comment that I was happy to hear, Patrick, you say that you're going to station someone when you ramp up into West Thames Park, because I think that somebody needs to be there pretty much 24/7 as they can. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. So Tammy, you're done?
Oh, I did have one other funny question, and I guess if Dan's still in the room, is Dan there?
No. Not here.
So maybe Becky can bring it back for me. There was conversations when they're doing the tree thing. I remember when the Joshua tree was cut down at the end of the Esplanade, it was kind of a big gig, and people went and got like chunks of that tree for whatever reason. Obviously the trees are all being munched and crunched at the moment, but there was a point of whether or not any of the trees that are being taken out could be replanted someplace else. And I've not seen to date any of that happening. So I'd like some information as to that. And secondarily, if there's any, like some of the really bigger, older trees, you know, maybe from a programming standpoint, it could be, you could have slices of the trees. There's so many things that you can do with them. And I say that because my daughter goes to a school that they do things like this with the trees, right?
Yeah.
Right? That, you know, you could take sections of the trees. And I know that sounds like a really dumb thing, but you know, it's an amazing thing, whether it's a coaster or mine happens to be a cozy for hot foods, right? That we got from trees that they chopped down. It's an environmental conservation school, and they look to have the opportunities lived in some other form. It could be a great thing to be able to do. I know it sounds like a weird thing, but if they'd
No,
be
I don't think it's
interested.
bad. Yeah, I think it's cool. I'll run it by Dan and see what's possible, and also see if in his new plan he has anything that was already relocated or not. I'll have him get back to you and we'll.
I mean, almost every school is a maker space, right? Could they work with the school? Could they work with the wood? Like, what could you do with it instead of just chopping them and hauling them? Where is it? Wood chips? Can we donate it to the battery. Like, there's just so many things. How many gardens could use them? If it's finally done, could it go into? So anyway, recycle, reuse, figure out a plan. Thank you, and I'm done.
Thank you, Tammy. That's a good point. Some of those trees are good wood that can be used for all sorts of things. If there's some way to salvage it, but it's good use, that would be good.
Really cool
Okay,
tables and
everybody.
benches.
Yes. Okay, thank you all. Thanks everyone for staying with us through this meeting. It's not that late. And thanks to the authority for the presentations, and we are now adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.